Happy Monday. Welcome back to Retake the Week. It's been a strange 7 days for us. Sure, we had some Counter-Strike to talk about, but there was a lot of weird news. The results as well from the Counter-Strike have sparked up some interesting conversations, as you can see nicely placed on the title and thumbnail. We will be talking Vitality, we'll be talking Falcons, we'll be talking Mongolz, we'll be talking about a lot of different Counter-Strike teams today. But before we get into that, and before we even address the elephant in the room, who is not actually that big, we do have to thank the people who make this show viable, but also so well executed, is the best way to put it. Those being the members. Now, the members, they're the people who pay to support the channel, quite simply, in case you didn't understand what membership is. They joined by clicking join below. If you're already subscribed, it should be there. And yes, they get access to a bunch of bonus content. They get access to right to vote on certain things, have their opinion heard, and ask questions, which actually will come up today, as we will be doing the Big QnA. We usually do it every month. We delayed it a bit, or stopped doing it for a little bit, just because it was getting just tough to field enough questions every month. You know, you guys see us so often, we interact with chat so much, it naturally absorbs a good amount of questions, I've found.
We're just way too good at podcasting, apparently, yeah.
Clearly, that is the problem. So we've decided, we took a bit of a break from it. We're bringing it back. We've got 7 questions, I think, from the members today, one of which is terrible, and it's because Quack asked it. But yeah, become a member, get access to bonus content, you get access to rights, and you can ask questions once a month. But yeah, let's get back to the actual main show and ask questions of our co-host that we have to every week, just so he keeps coming back. Quack, been up to anything? Promote yourself, etc., etc. You know the deal.
No, it's just been a big news week. So honestly, the stuff that would be like, hey, you should go read this, all of you have already read it, because this week's big news, which I think, well, okay, big news for those of us who follow Tier 2, and also people who cry about cheating and match fixing. Most of that, a lot of that came from us. So yeah, that's I don't have to promote it. Sometimes the news is just big enough. No, sorry, no, but like no, that's been it. I've been ill in the weekend. I didn't do that much. But yeah, it's the same old. If you want to hear from the manager of Northern Lights, who we are going to talk about later, I asked him for a comment yesterday, which came out last night, and yeah, you can go read that. It's on Fragbite, and yeah, he didn't seem to know anything about it whatsoever, which I believe he seemed very candid about it. To be honest, it seemed like, there was a funny part when he told me the story before I asked him for a comment, and he just basically told me the entire story of how he ended up with Northern Lights. And there was a really funny quote which I thought was really interesting. We communicated exclusively via Steam and Snapchat. Axelen told me Snapchat was the way to communicate in Sweden, and even though I found that hard to understand, I accepted it. And I did enjoy that. And just the thought of, like, Snapchat filter saying just match fix the hell out of United 21. It was really funny. Just that image was really funny to me. With the, like the bearded Chad man filter. And it's like, no, don't match fix. Yeah.
Yeah, we will be discussing Northern Lights later. That is a part of the show. I'm sure it'll be a bit more informative than that.
There's so much about this. So even just a small tidbit, which I found funny for the start of the show, is this long. So you can tell small side retake is going to be medium at worst. Medium at least is what I meant to say.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one. So yeah, let's get into it with the Counter-Strike of the weekend, really the part that mattered this weekend. ESL Pro League, the grand final of which was won by Vitality, and that beggars the question, and I'm sure we'll start a very reasonable, sensible conversation between us, between the community, between everyone, about the Vitality era. And have they kept their era alive? That's the interesting part of it, because eras are always weird, especially in the moment, in terms of defining where they start, where they finish. Should we have decided they finished? Could they have kept going on? Who knows? FlameZ made it public that he believes this win maintains their era. And I think it's one of those things where if they do enough off the back of this win as well, you're going to look back on it and just be like, so there was a blip. This entire year can just be called the Vitality era. Like, if they go on and win another major, let's say. even if it isn't quite as dominant as it started, there will be a certain amount of concession in that sense in terms of historical importance, significance this year. It's not just they were Team of the Year, therefore they had an era. Clearly, Na'Vi proved that just being the official Team of the Year doesn't mean a damn thing in certain years. This year would be in some way chalked up to being theirs. It would be their era in a way, but I think it's probably the right conclusion to say it's a bit preemptive on Flamesy's part to say this now. I think you're in strong agreement that firstly, you still believe the Vitality era just isn't alive at all, and that it takes something beyond comprehension to bring it back from the dead from this point onwards. But I do think just the sane conclusion to have right now, off the back of Flamesy's statement, is hold your horses, kid. You won Pro League. It's not that big a deal.
It's a really stacked Pro League. This is what we said last week as well. It's a really stacked.
It is a stacked Pro League, but it's still Pro League, right? It's still a studio. It's not even like a small LAN Pro League. Like it's
no
studio Pro League.
They tried the small crowd and then they did away with it, and now it's just bunch of people in a warehouse in Stockholm, and that's what ESL Pro League is. So yeah, I honestly think, okay, I'll just articulate this one more time, and then I probably won't mention it again, because I still feel like this argument hasn't really been countered, which is that I think an era is defined by a period of dominance. It's like we define it by Astralis dominance, by Fnatic dominance, by NIP dominance. We had Vitality dominance. And honestly, how long does an era have to be? Yeah, I could say that the Vitality era lasted for all or most of the spring season. I'll be fine with that. But the dominance has by definition, it's been gone for about a month or two. When we have sat every week on this show and been asked, who do you think is the top one right now? And we don't have a straight answer. And we can go anywhere between Mongolz, Spirit, Vitality. There's and we
never Mongolz,
as we've always
just throw that out. Never Mongolz. Take number one was the entire conversation when they hit number one on HLTV and VRS.
Even if you say Vitality Spirit, it's between those two, that's enough to disqualify it. And also, I think, in my opinion, also the fact that we had Mongolz, Mouse, Falcons, and people who were starting to talk about G2 and Furia as well entering this sort of conversation. That enough is like, we've already talked. It's ridiculously competitive. It's ridiculously even. To me, the dominance just gone. So if it comes back, I don't know if I can put it together into one thing. For me, all eras are always decided in hindsight as well, so it's kind of a moot point as well. But I still feel pretty confident in saying that the dominance is gone. The Vitality dominance has been gone for a while. If it comes back, it's a different thing. And for that sake, for the sake of that, I do feel like it's a bit unfair, even to some past eras, to say that like it could carry on through this. I won't say very weak spell, because it hasn't been. They make top fours, solid,
and top.
But
two.
when they consistently lost to Mongolz. They lost to Mouse. I think they did. They have also beaten them on occasion. It depends on if that game was a quarterfinal or a semifinal most of the time. I'm not sure they have played Spirit yet, now that I think about it. But they kind of got duped out of that, because they were supposed to play Spirit if Spirit had actually beaten FaZe. So that was the chance. That was the chance to prove themselves as the clear number one. But it's for me, it's just like the dominance is gone. So what defined the era? It was the dominance. Honestly, nothing else. It was the dominance which defined the era. Everything else sort of tangential, It's exactly how many events did they win? Don't really care. Exactly when did they happen? Don't really care. It was a Katowice and a major. Definitely, it makes the era argument stronger. It's the dominance itself, which is like the vibes-based thing. That's what gave them the era argument. That dominance is gone. So if they win everything for the rest of the year, maybe I'll reconsider. We'll see how it looks when you look at the event page. But I still feel like we are not in the Vitality era. If somebody were to ask me, what do you think defines World Counter-Strike right now? I would not say Vitality by any stretch of the imagination.
What would you say?
Fierce competitiveness, a very close top fight, and
okay.
Yeah, and controversy. And the VRS.
Yes, a lot of controversy. Yes.
Yeah, the Valve regional standings. Maybe that's the era, the VRS era. That's what we're in. The period is defined by the mischief, Messioso, and that one Danish guy. Maybe that's what this era is.
Love it. Poor lad. He is now that one Danish guy. Doesn't get a name, doesn't get a title.
His name is Jesper, which I know is a very awkward name in English, but his nickname is also Udknud. So
Jesper Udknud. There you go. I don't have to say it right. Just got to say it roughly,
Udknud.
Understandably. There you go.
I just can't decide how to say it. So for now he's the one Danish guy. I'm sorry, Udknud. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Shout out Jesper. There we go.
Shout out Udknud.
But all right, yes, the Vitality era, it's one of those things where it won't be settled yet. And the conversation will feel a bit redundant for a while. Look, for me, it is fine to have, 4 events in a row where they're not winning the event. As Vitality, did to start this season, as long as they're not missing top 4s and grand finals. Like, if you wanted to look back on a period and call it an era, I wouldn't need to call it 2 separate periods just because there were 4 grand finals and top 4s thrown into it. That wouldn't be a problem for me. It's just currently, I also need them to do more than win Pro League for me to tack it on and combine it. I'm not going to count your 4 runners-ups or top 4 placements with your Pro League to be like, see, clearly still on top. Like, that's not quite there yet. It needs to be proven a little more solidly. And sure, they had some great wins. This event, taking that grand final 3-0 over Falcons was a pretty important thing. Like, I thought they'd win it 3-1. I gave Falcons that much credit. That's 25p down the drain. That is my standard betting size. But it's important that they made it look this way. Like, just one-sided landslide win. Would have liked to have seen it in the other games as well in the playoffs. I think that would have also, aesthetically been more pleasing for a lot of people in terms of believing in Vitality as that sort of dominant team. Obviously, the dominance term that you threw around a lot there. You need to win in a certain way for that to feel right, especially off of one Pro League event. And it clearly, it just doesn't feel that way. But the right start. This is what this event is. They're back on track. We got a really strong Zywoo, but not a superstar. We got a super strong Flame Z. Rops was good. Mezzy had some good series, I think, for the entire event. I don't think his stats are particularly astonishing. I'm just going to get the pages up now. Oh no, he's 121 for the event. Damn, I got him and Rops the wrong way around.
Yeah, he played really.
Yeah, wow.
He played really well in the Swiss stage. He was basically the guy almost carrying them through the Swiss stage itself. I'm not sure how the playoffs shaked out for him, but yeah, stage 2, Mezzy was up on like a 1-3 while all of his teammates were pretty bad.
Well, pretty bad, I think. Yeah, Zywoo was a 124, Rops was 125,
but
Flamesy's 114. Pretty bad is
subpar. Rops in particular was kind of missing in.
Rops was
the
great in the pre-playoffs. That's 125 pre-playoffs.
Never mind. He was missing in the playoffs, so.
Yes, it's the opposite way around, but we got there eventually.
We got there eventually.
Yeah, the playoff, Zywoo's banging. Flame Z had a grand final to remember. I think I'm going to have to do like some POV demo work on him this week. Possibly on stream, possibly just videos. Either way, Flame Z, sensational grand final. I think that's going to be his sort of spark or highlight of the year. I think that's probably why he feels like we're dominant, we're on top of the world. He just went 3-zip against Falcons, and whilst he was carrying every map, basically. So he's going to feel pretty chuffed about himself. A 160 rated grand final. Flame Z, huge in that match. But overall, yeah, this looks more like the Vitality we knew, right? This is more like the Vitality that actually set records, won a bunch of events in a row, looked almost untouchable. This looks more like it. So I am excited to see what they do next, to see if they actually do hit that standard we've now set where you have to do more than win Pro League. It looks possible again, and I feel confident when the next time I'm asked who's the number 1 team is, I can actually give you an answer that I don't feel dreadful about. Like, I wouldn't feel dreadful calling Vitality number 1 team right now, because I did see them consistently make grand finals and top 4s. They won an event in this fashion. I can tell myself they're the number one team, just because I've also seen everyone else be inconsistent, struggle, fail. The other event winners of the recent sort of period, G2 missed playoffs. Furia, top 8, lost to Vitality. Spirit, who were looking threatening,
Lost to face with Rain.
top 8. They lost to Frozen and Twists, going absolutely fucking dog ham. Like, holy crap. But still,
Despite Rain, yes.
despite Rain and Carrigan, they didn't have anyone who could match up with that rifle duo. And Brokey, to be fair, I overlook him all the time, but he had a good series. These are the other teams who were in contention for number 1, who had a realistic chance, or Mongolz, who also missed playoffs entirely. Like, you know, I feel more comfortable being able to say Vitality is the number 1 team right now, but we're still far from era conversations being back on. You know, extensions to the era, because I'd still give the first season to them as an era. I just need to see more to give them the rest of the year. This isn't quite there yet.
Can I just ask about this sort of lull that they had, the slight dip that they had? They've lost to Mouse, Mongolz again, Falcons, and G2. Those are the 5 big playoff losses they took in those 4 events. And one of them was a third place
decider. I don't count it. So scratch that off.
It's at a pretty big event, to be honest. It was a pretty big fucking price tag attached to that. But yeah, all right.
Scratch it off.
My question is, let's say all of those losses were to Mongolz. Would you say the Vitality era argument would be stronger or weaker in that case? Because they've lost to a lot of diverse opponents. Some of them I don't think have any claim to be number 1. Mouse, for example, somehow beat them in a Cologne semifinal anyway. But if they lost to the same opponent over and over again, I feel like that would make Vitality's argument. I don't really know where I stand if that would make Vitality's argument weaker because somebody else clearly has taken over the dominance, or if it would make it stronger because it's like at least you're losing to a very solid opponent. In this case, it's more like they're losing to G2, they're losing to Mouse, they're losing to Falcons, they're losing to Mongolz twice as well, which is like none of these teams are really up there in terms of taking over, like trying to beat what Vitality have done before. None of them are anywhere close. You're still losing to these teams over and over again.
The fact that we exit the Vitality era, the pure dominance, and what we enter is an ambiguous phase where everyone can beat pretty much everyone. And when teams beat Vitality, you know, the first time Mouse beat Vitality, it's a Herculean effort, celebrated, you know, to the high heavens. Like, it is Everest peaked. You know, similar things can be said about the other wins that teams have had over them, where it's just been, like, G2 beat them in 5 maps in a grand final. It was an absolute slugfest. Great game, but it wasn't just we trounced Vitality. The fact that in that brief period where they were off the mountaintop, as it was, you know, they were sliding down a bit, they were just in the midst of a full-on brawl. There was no one who could just beat the field and be on top of it. It wasn't showing off that, like, it was still possible. You were just not good enough. Someone has replaced you. It was, we slipped down a step. That took us into the mess of everyone else. The fact that we maintained that for 7 straight events was insane. And the fact that we could maybe here, with this win, then start asserting ourselves ahead of them again would be incredible. So I do think it is better that someone else didn't just come and become the number 1 team. I think that is better that someone else wasn't able to just separate themselves from the muck and the mess that is the top 6, the top 8, wherever you draw the line, because it shows that there really is a ton of great Counter-Strike being played. It's not like they had one real opponent and then everyone else was just kind of chumps, you know, fish bait that they could just mop up. They had to actually beat good teams to consistently be at the top of the mountain. The fact they're now going to have to do it again, if they do manage it again, would be a greater achievement than just having one good opponent that they now have to surpass. We know there's a lot of damn good Counter-Strike teams right now. That's why we talk about, you know, how dangerous Falcons are, Spirit are, what Mongolz can be if they get it right, what Mouse have always shown the potential to be, because they've been, you know, forever able to beat all the other top teams, but also never quite get the win. You know, there's so much like poison in this scene right now in terms of things that can upset you, trip you up, prevent you being number 1, take you out of your win streak. To get back on that kind of thing would be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I see it. I don't know. The way I'm sort of flipping it over in my head is like, well, at least if they lost to somebody else who was consistently beating them, they were losing to somebody elite. And you could maybe say that, well, Vitality didn't get worse. Everybody else just got better. In this case, it is the fact that Vitality got so much worse. And it's like, how could it be the Vitality era in this? Well,
it's so much worse. If you think about it, how far down they fell. They started losing a game earlier. And it's because, if you understand what happened in the last season, no one prepped. No one had time to really do full-on like anti-strat for them. They come into the new season, everyone took a month of straight work to try and figure out how to beat them. So they came down from first to second, well, third, fourth, second. Oh, now they're winning again. Like, imagine, like, it took you a whole month just to get them out of it, and now they could just walk back into it. That's crazy.
That could be crazy. And maybe that's the thing which will, change my mind in the end, because in the end we define this in post. It's always a past thing. So maybe that's what happens. Like, if they walk it back, then I might say that, hey, yeah, you took this dip and you were able to walk it back, were able to carry on for, let's say, another 6 months. Amazing achievement in that case. And then maybe I'll change my tune about this. But right now, I just feel like at this moment, I'm not sitting here writing down in my diary, today was another day of the Vitality era. I just feel like we've been in the Vitality era, if it exists. That's another bucket of fish. Kettle of fish. What do you say? Barrel.
It's another kettle of fish.
It's something to do with fish.
It is a kettle.
It's something to do with fish. But that's a whole other thing. And it's like, we've been in the Vitality era. We're in something else. And that's like, it feels like a different thing for me. But that's about it. I don't think
we're three events in a row will feel different. If they do.
I might.
We might re-enter the.
I hope they.
We might re-enter the ambiguous period. Like, if Spirit are as good as I said they would be on the double swing, and then they got beaten by my underdog, who I said would be fantastic. So I still technically took a win, but really felt a bit iffy about that one. We'll get into Spirit in a second.
I think ambiguous period. While it's true, it doesn't really do credit to what it is, because I think this is great. This is amazing. This is like close, fierce competition. I think is so much better than anything else.
I think it's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm getting end of 2019 vibes. Yeah.
It is great.
And we also
have different teams win. Like, it's elite CS as well. That's the good part. Like, it's really good CS in a variety of ways. Like, we're getting back to teams with styles, like some more tactical, some have QnA and Nico. Like, there is a sort of fun dynamic that's being found, even if it is correctly labeled ambiguous, just in terms of where teams should be seen, like who's number one, who's number two, who's number three. All that sort of thing is ambiguous, but it is fun. That'll never be denied by me or I think anyone else. Let's move on to our next team, though, the grand finalist who lost to Vitality. I mean, a weird question, but kind of has to be addressed in terms of what we think of Falcons, and there's always discussions about who they should be. Are Falcons good now? Like, are they good in two ways? And I mean this both ways. Are they good as in, are they a good Counter-Strike team? That feels like the obvious yes. But
the
also,
other one is, are they all right?
But also the other ones, are they good? As in, like, are we good? Do we need to make more changes? Is there still, like, that problem? Like, are we good? Like, it's a two-sided thing. Like, I want to get your take on both, and obviously I'll give you some of my thoughts. But, yeah, Falcons, just, are they good? And are they good?
Have they been bad at all for the past 7-8 months or so?
As the haters have wished they'd be actually bad. They basically haven't been bad. That's the problem. They've just not been winning everything, and that's given everyone a good reason to shit on them, because they want to shit on them. And fair, I get why. I get why.
Yeah, I think the last time they were bad was in the major, and that's even still, that's, I mean, like,
Cologne,
coming
they
off
missed
of
playoffs. Like, that's a bit of a big one. But yes, the major then Cologne was a bad run. Major was bad as a result by itself, just outright. But if you had to really summarize
most
the year
of the games there
it's
were
not bad.
Yeah. No, and especially this Falcons with QnA as well hasn't really been bad. I don't even think that Cologne performance is that bad, because you're playing very good opponents with a fucking child on your team as well. Where it's like,
a child who went
Mongolz,
fucking ham.
Yeah, but like, even still, it's a new thing. You're trying new stuff, etc., etc. It was very fresh. I remember, this was probably their first event coming back, so that's fine. And even then, they kind of showed up afterwards, where like they can make work of most of these opponents fairly well. So I don't think they were ever really bad in terms of, like, are they not good? I don't think they're a serious contender just yet, and I kind of think this ESL, this Pro League, kind of shows it, because where was QnA really in this playoff run and in this grand final? Where was it? It wasn't really there, like, at all, I feel like.
Yeah, no, it was really a m0NESY driven playoff, and that's great for m0NESY believers who want to see m0NESY as the next Simple, even though unfortunately Simple is coming back, so he could just be m0NESY again. But no, for people who want to see Mongolz is a great player, perfect playoff run for that, because he got very little help, but still got them into a grand final. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think a couple of weeks ago I was talking about how like I was waiting for this. Eventually, QsuKi is going to show his weakness. Eventually, that game or that event or that run of games is going to happen. And I feel like I timed that kind of perfectly because right after that we had the Furia loss in playoffs. QsuKi wasn't really all there. The rest of the team maybe weren't either, but they did lose that in Fisher. That was the end of their Fisher run. Then this event it's not weak by QsuKi, but it's a 107. It's a negative KD, which is weird to say.
It's an entry. It's kind of,
Well, it's still a first for QsuKi, to be honest.
It is a first so far, but yes, it is. It is also not too unexpected.
Like, it was going to happen, and it's not necessarily that it's like a honeymoon kind of thing. It's more so that, like, you are still dealing with an inexperienced guy. This was going to happen, and kind of what makes him good is how he deals with this and how he recovers from this. And how good Falcons can make him even in spite of this. Because now you had a pretty weak showing against Mouse, very weak showing against Vitality, I would say. Even 3D Max, they lose that opening map. QsuKi is not really there in that opening map against 3D Max. The upset from 3D Max was on the table. So yeah, it's bleh. Could kind of go anywhere, but that's not for me to say like QsuKi is now bad. It's more so that, like, for them to get into that position where I feel like, yes, Falcons should be in this final. They should be winning this final. They should be beating this and this and this team. It's like they need to make it out of that. They need to make it out of that where they can consistently get a good level of QsuKi. Or, even if they do it for one event, then yeah, solid. But, like, it's some small cracks are starting to show for QsuKi, I think, in terms of he can't be Donk all the time. Just yet.
It is an interesting sort of judgment to pass on QsuKi. He can't be Donk just yet, but he doesn't play as Donk. That's also a bit of an interesting sort of counter to that. It's just like he also just isn't set up the way Donk is and play the roles Donk does. He's in a very different situation, and it's going to be, I think, in that sense, sort of tougher for him because Donk comes from being the star rifler of the academy, set up in every way, to playing on Spirit's main team, the star rifler of the main team, set up in every way. QsuKi was the same player in the academy. Like, in terms of the roles he gets to play, the privileges he was afforded, he was Donk in that academy. He comes into Falcons. He's no longer even remotely that. He's playing alongside Nico and Mongolz. He doesn't get all the setup he wants or needs, quite importantly, to just pump out 136 type ratings. And he's having to do some pretty tough stuff that's kind of... We've seen a trend across the scene of, like, it's getting harder and harder to do in terms of being the hard entry and a star rifle. It's just not really a thing. As much as it was before, it's becoming harder and harder. We're getting more and more aggressive lurks are taking over in terms of there being the highest rated rifler, having the most game-winning impact. Your PRs, your heavy gods, Nikos. Those are the guys having a lot of really strong maps. And it's becoming more like in their favor as far as the way they play rather than the explicit hard entry. The exceptions still exist. Like, there's a few guys who go crazy in that sort of role. Xantares, seeing as his team don't really play. Like, he's listed in certain roles, like the T-side of Train. Technically, Skybox Edge sees him as an Ivy lurker. If you watch, the guy doesn't lurk. He's at the front of a pack everywhere he is because that's how they play. So there's certain roles... There are certain players, rather, who can play the role a little better, who have sort of avoided being dragged down into the muck with everyone else, of just like, hard entrying is now hard again. But QsuKi's got the talent, and if he's persevering, and if Falcons realize that this is getting harder and they can use him in different ways, maybe adjust how often they send him out on these sorts of death runs, he's probably going to find more success, have better ratings, and probably in the playoffs as well, against really good teams. With that kind of help, that kind of setup, just put up better numbers himself. I mean, sure, it's lovely to watch Mongolz like just clutch stuff out, hit ridiculous flicks, Nico to find lurk picks. If they could get QsuKi working better in the playoffs, maybe find his feet in terms of his own confidence as well, they'll be a fantastic team again, no worries. And as well, he'll get more of those numbers we expect to see from someone painted as Donk.
Yeah, it's not obviously. Yeah, there's a difference here, and you're gonna find a lot more inconsistency in the way he's playing relative to somebody like Donkey. But what I mean is more like the match to match, the event to event output has been kind of varied so far for him in Falcons, and I think it's gonna keep being a little bit varied. Um,
Yeah.
This is maybe the first dip in that variation. If they can raise that floor just a little bit, Falcons as a team to work with QnA, that's when they're super dangerous. Because right now you're getting a decent level out of Nico. I think you're getting a pretty good level out of him. Mongolz is kind of back with this Pro League run. If they can sustain that, then yeah, fuck yeah. Then it's kind of just a matter of work it out. So I don't know. That's sort of I don't look at them as a super dangerous team at the moment, but it's not far away. It's an event or two away.
They just made the grand final of this event, and they did take down Mouse along the way. I mean, sure, 3D Max is a nothing win, but they did take down some good teams. They beat Mouse twice in this event. They've done something that most teams don't do. Like, you don't beat Mouse twice in an event. You usually beat them once in the quarters or in the semis, typically the semis, and then they're happy with their third, fourth again. Falcons did it twice. It's no mean feat, and they've been generally very good. Like, at the events they attend, they take down good teams. Not all of them, and that's why they don't win the events, but they do manage those wins. They've had wins over these sorts of contending top 6 to 8 rosters fairly consistently since QnA joined, and I see them as still being a very dangerous side. I still give them that event-winning upside. Like, they have that potential to just go win events. Just in terms of the roster they field, they're that kind of stacked. They're that kind of loaded. They're primed and ready. So speaking of teams who are kind of in that bubble, that group, but this one that really disappointed us, and there's a couple of teams we could have talked about here for disappointments, and I usually ask a question of who disappointed you at this event, but I wanted to address this team directly. Are the Mongolz dead? Like, flat dead? Have they just died a disappointing death? Are we still believers in the Mongolz? Like, what's gone wrong here? What this event caused them to collapse so monumentally before even making playoffs? Losing that 2-2 decider to Na'Vi after taking some absolutely demonic L's, I think, on the way through. We said this during the pre-show. They lost multiple games to teams that didn't make playoffs. Unlike another team you could have said was disappointing, Aurora, who only lost to playoff teams. G2 only lost to playoff teams. Those are the other big disappointments. Mongolz lost to 2 non-playoff teams. What on earth is going on? Now, we can talk about them. I'm just going to preface this with some of my thoughts on this. They do have, potentially, they've hit their ceiling. That's been a conversation for a while. But this isn't their ceiling. This is them playing poorly, below their level, below their ceiling, probably below the floor we've seen for them in terms of losing to Hotu and to Inner Circle. We've not seen that kind of depth of flaw from the Mongolz. So is it a regression? Is there another explanation of just simply not caring about this event? Like, maybe they needed a break. Maybe it's one of those things. I don't know what's wrong with them exactly. There's some Counter-Strike stuff we can talk about in a second. But Quack, are you actually worried about Mongolz after this performance?
No, not really. Talking about event-to-event performance, we are also coming off of a Mongolz grand final, which in turn is coming off of a Mongolz event win. I think I hope this is a little bit of a fluke event. It's definitely fluky opponents to lose to. I'd honestly maybe be more worried if they lost to Gamer Legion and somebody like 3D Max than I am if they lost to Hotu and Inner Circle anyway, because it is just so far out of left field. It's an unknown opponent. It's very easy to underestimate a team like Hotu. Super easy to go into that game thinking. In Sweden, when you're talking about football, you talk about just putting the shoes out when you're playing an easy opponent, and that's a surefire way to lose. It's the same thing. You put your keyboard and mouse out and expect to win. No, you actually have to play and you actually have to win. So it's very easy for a team like Mongolz, probably on the biggest high of their entire careers going into this group stage, off of an esports World Cup grand win, and that solid performance at Fisher. They do lose the final, but it's still, they're still up here. They're number 1 on the VRS going into this as well, and they're probably on cloud 9 going into Ho2, this is going to be so easy, they think. Yeah, they had the upset against Fury and they actually made it through stage 1. It's going to be so easy, though. And kind of get upset. Whiplash from that leads into a loss against Inner Circle. Holy fuck, now we need to lock in. You fight your way through a shitty Gamer Legion, who also didn't play that well at this event.
Oh lord, no, they didn't.
And then you slog through, what is that, triple overtime against Gentle Mates, just to face Navi in the end. I can imagine you're pretty, like, that's a tough game to win at that point if you're looking at it from Mongolz POV. So do I think it's over? No, they can definitely still bounce back from this 100%. I'm not sure if I'm that certain they will. In a way, I don't think they reached the high that they were on again. Part of the reason why we had Mongolz in such a high standing was because Vitality and Spirit just flat out weren't playing for a month. So, or
yeah,
Mouse,
it does
even,
help that they didn't play those teams.
Yeah,
that's a good thing to point out. When they did win, finish second rather at Fisher. Like, they didn't have to face, our true top dogs in that sense. They played G2, they played Furia, beat 1, lost to 1. You know, good wins for your resume as a top dog, but not exactly the be-all, end-all. So, yeah, since the Esports World Cup, they hadn't faced either of Vitality or Spirit. And then they come here and, well, I mean, I'm going to be honest. Riding the high after losing a grand final to Furia and Fisher shouldn't be that high. You also had, let's be clear, they had 14 days to prep their next game.
Yeah.
Or 13 if that's maybe 13 days. You had over a week to go in and play Ho2 in a circle, who you just managed, you had the freedom. You could have kicked your feet up, cup of tea, everyone. Let's watch the stage 1 teams. Like, you could have been fully prepared for that. The fact that it takes you 2 losses to wake up a little bit is alarming. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on behind the scenes in terms of people's mentality, how the coach and IGL are prepping, how long this team's been on the road. Maybe there's some sort of factor playing in there, but that's, to me, a bit of a problem. The fact that you get you lose to Ho2, then you get shut out by Inner Circle off the back of it. The Ho2 loss should have been the slap in the face. That should have been the wake-up call. I couldn't see them, like, off the back of that with, considering we give Mara a bunch of credit, we give Blitz a lot of credit. I couldn't see the team coming into the Inner Circle game not ready and not able to deliver. And I get a 0.64 Senzu. Like, someone's doing their job terribly in that sense between games. Like, someone's messed it up. Be it Senzu, who's gone out and, I don't know, slammed 18 drinks between games for something, like, for some reason. Like, is it him getting his inter-match prep wrong? Or if it's the coach just not understanding what the hell Inner Circle are as a team? I don't know what went wrong, but there was something. There's something about that turnover or turnaround between those games that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, you should have come into the game ready to go, and you got spanked. Like, that's a shocker.
I'll give you one reason why I think they're not over, and it's to do with what they're doing this week. It is also something which could make them over. And it's the fact that their next event is the Thunderpick World Championship in Malta, which is a slam dunk Mongolz victory. It should be. The only teams who can really challenge them there are Aurora, who they beat in the Esports World Cup final, Furia, who they lost to in Fisher, I will admit, but still, and then Navi, who knocked them out of ESL Pro League here. Still 3 very beatable teams should be for Mongolz, based on where they've been recently and who they've been able to beat. And that is like, they need to win that. But maybe that's also their downfall, because if they don't win that, then I'm sort of feeling like, okay, we're in trouble. We're in dire straits. We might need to start thinking about who else is playing well in Mongolia right now. And
who's not going to get that
event. No Christ, to be honest. Who would No Christ be able to replace on Mongolz, do you think?
Honestly, not really anyone. The role I always talk about, the player I always talk about getting cut is potentially Techno. I don't think No Cry's Mr. Great aim, but not really much of a role player at a high level, is going to be like able to fill those shoes. No Cry's kid needs to play on a smaller team first. But look, they get to go into Thunderpick and they get to farm some free wins. In theory, in practice, they've got a group with OG and 9Z and Furia. They might have to come out the decider match in that one. I'm going to be honest. If they start the same way they started, they might go straight home.
Shit.
Like, you know what I mean? If they start the same way they started at Pro League, they're going straight home. They're losing to 9Z in a shock upset. Then they're not going to wake up in time to beat OG and just go out straight out. So I'm not too confident, honestly, in Thunderpick World Championships just being an easy farming event. It should be, but then
exactly,
again,
it should be.
They should have made it out of groups at Pro League. But they lost to Inner Circle and Hotu, like the both of them.
Yeah,
which is the problem. So no, I'm not going to be confident going into this one. I think they need to play well, but it's that sort of thing where it's like you better take the win at this event, or it is going to be another black mark. That's going to be another problem. If you don't win this event, we are going to be talking about you as truly fraudulent as an elite team. And the fact that any ranking ever managed to put you at number 1 is just a glitch in the matrix right now. If you don't win this event.
Yep. You need to win this event. If you don't, you're in dire straits. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that anyway. That's actually going to be quite a fun event. I think this is an interesting lineup. Venom, who somehow made it here through the close qualifier. But then you also have like Imperial, 9Z, and OG, teams who definitely want to break in here. So an upset, OG upsetting Mongolz, kind of realistic. We are also judging Mongolz off of basically 6 games at this point. Which is not a huge amount. ESL Pro League plus the Furia loss in Fissure. That's their last 6 games.
Well, yes, but, if Manchester City lost to Burnley and Accrington Stanley with their starting roster on back-to-back match weeks, I would be calling for someone's head. Everyone would be.
Right.
Like, the coach is getting sacked.
But
everyone's getting sacked. Half the team is benched. Like, you know what I mean? Like, kind of that.
Right, but if the week before that was fucking Europa League final or Champions League final or semi-final or whatever, if the match week before that was that, and you won, I mean, like,
but they didn't. They lost.
Well, they came. I mean, what we're talking about is like draw a line before the Fissure Grand Final. Mongolz are on top of the world. Like, not number 1, but like they're doing excellent. They're coming off of the Esports World Cup win, beating Vitality there, comfortably beating Aurora in the final. You're looking like a solid top 5 team, 100%, top 3. You're in that conversation. In Fissure as well, you're beating out Liquid, despite their fucking fairy tale win. You beat out G2, who I can't remember if Bounty was before or after Fissure. It was after, or it was before. So G2 as well, like the last big event winners, you take them down. And then you go into the grand final, and that's where you kind of lose in a 5-map affair, which is a crazy game. It's quite a small basis to say that Mongolz are over after only 6 games, which could really be called failures, I think. So, and 2 of them are also wins. So, yeah, I'll say it's not over. It's not over.
It's not over. I don't think it's over. But if they don't win Thunderpick, cut Techno. I don't care if he's got an MVP. Cut him.
You're not doing anything to Mongolz right now until the major is over. Unfortunately, I don't know. I assume they might have registered a sub. Maybe they registered some like maybe there's a third Mezinho Bartak brother.
12 years old.
The first.
The literal
sphere. The second ever brothers to play in the same major, aside from twins.
Yes, aside from the other brothers. Yes.
Fuck, that was weird as hell. The Huns posted that if you missed it. If you missed it, because Bartak plays on the Huns, and Bartak is Mezinho's older brother. Mezinho replaced his older brother on Mongolz. They both qualified for the same major, and they made a post saying, like, this is the first time 2 siblings have ever played in the same major, brackets, excluding twins. And it's like, all right, so Adam B and Susp, Lucas and Henny, and then Lucas and Henny like 5 different times. And it's like, okay, so this is meaningless. Like, it doesn't mean anything. I'm sure I've also missed. I'm sure there's another twin pair who have missed as well. So yeah, dumb.
Very. Right. We have one more team that I want to address directly, just in this portion, because we're brushing by a lot of teams, but we're talking about them, like we've essentially talked about Mouse without having ever talked about Mouse on this show so far. This is one that, I said before we talk about that I kind of felt disappointed by. I thought they'd play better here, but it was still a bit of a weird one to judge. Rate Spirit's debut. I need you. I mean, chat can probably throw in their takes in there as well. Rate Spirit's debut. Give it a grade. Let's put it that way. Let's give it a grade and let's talk about it. This is the first time we see them with Tanir. They had a big break away. They went 3-0 in groups, then lost 2-0 to Frozen and Twist, dropping 1.6 ratings, / phase, however you want to call it. Give it a rating.
You think hard on this one. I say it's a C. It's a C outright because I think they do well in the group stage. You know, they play who's in front of them. They do it quite well. That G2 game as well is comfortable for them. Tanir as well shows up big time, like shakes off the rust in the first 2 games. Shows up big time in that game. You're not getting the maximum out of Donk. You're not getting, you know, what you're maybe supposed to get out of him in any of those games, really. And then it's kind of like, yeah, I'm thinking back to like my own assignments where I would get graded, you know, and you get like in school assignments, you get perfect score on the first half, and then you completely fail on the second half, and that ends up being a C. So that phase game is awkward to say the least, and it kind of caps them. I might lower myself to like a D or a D plus because I really think, especially when you're playing Inner Circle and Ho2, you really should. Like, again, you play who's in front of you. You can't really do anything else. But
yeah, they play Inner Circle and Ho2. I mean, imagine losing to those teams. Couldn't be a top contender in the scene, so good thing they took care of business.
I mean, yeah, but they did take care of business. And then they play G2 and they make it through. And then they completely flop against FaZe. And I'm wondering what kind of excuse is going to come out of the Spirit camp after this. Like, what was it? Hallie had there was that one thing about like, oh yeah, we didn't want to go to Blast Open playoffs because we had visa issues anyway. So it's like, well, okay, shut the fuck up. Like, that's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
What was the reason why you didn't want to go to the ESL Pro League semifinal today with your new lineup? Is it that you're warming up? You don't want to injure yourself by doing, you know, overextending yourself on your first run? Is that it? Like,
no. Yeah, you know, the couch to 5K. It doesn't start with a 5K. You know, they're just getting off the couch. No. They got to, I don't know, walk. I've never done the couch to 5K thing. Like, I don't.
What the fuck is the couch to 5K?
It's an initiative that like the BBC tried to promote to get people to be less fat. That's not what they said, but it's what it is. And it was like a whole thing you could follow along, and they like taught you how to do it. And they had a podcast, I think, that ran alongside with some famous people, where they talked about different running tips and how running helped them. I genuinely think my mum tried it to get into running, and now she does run every now and then, so it kind of worked. And you know, my mum's not fat, so it can work for normal people too. But I've looked into it. I'm just like, it's cardio at the end of the day. I hate it. But anyway, back on track. Yes, Spirit. Yeah, the playoff game they lost was tragic.
And that's what I have to dock them for, because before that point, like, yeah, you lose a map to Inner Circle. Yeah, you know, maybe you should dumpster Ho2 as well in the second game, but you don't. But it's not like it's very close.
It's 13-6. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like maybe that should have been more like the Vitality GL game, if you're honest. Like if you're honestly asking yourself, how was Ho2 and Spirit going to shake down? But then you know they do everything right beyond that point, and it's like, yeah, I'll give that like a B if it continued with that trend, solid. And then you lose to FaZe, and it's like, oh, I have, you know, that's the only thing you can really dock them for in a big way. So yeah, at least at a base level analysis. I didn't watch these games. To me, Ho2 Spirit was the least interesting game out of any of them for that entire day. So yeah, I can't say how they looked. Maybe you can.
Well, I can tell you this. When they played G2, it looked like everything I'd theorized was coming true. You know, everything I talked about in terms of how the addition's going to work with Tanir, how they're going to play, the things he'll add to their, like, T sides, CT sides to a certain extent, because, again, not everyone crouches when they swing you, so Zontix isn't always going to get a kill. Everything I prophesized pretty much was coming to be. Like, sure, the Inner Circle win, fine. Hotu win, good. Clearly, these two teams are world beaters because they beat the top one team in the world who's totally legit and totally fine. Those wins don't move me. But then they play G2 and they take care of business pretty comfortably. You know, at that point, I'm pretty excited with the way it's shaking out. Donk's, you know, still mopping up all the frags, still getting the harder of the setups, but Tanir isn't just being relegated to AFK Zontix lurking and doing that kind of role. They did use him as a second prong. They did try to essentially split into two packs when they were going for XX at times, or not always use him as explicitly as a hard lurk. It was like a weird sort of approach that kind of worked out. Like, Sway was a hard entry for him in terms of just run out and die, whilst Chopper was the same thing for Donk. Like, they had this kind of dynamic set up, and it worked pretty well.
Yeah.
Then they come into playoffs, and they face a team with, look, as expected, two of the best riflers at the event in Twists and Frozen. And I honestly thought they'd give way more of a fight. Now, Nuke, I expected them to lose, just because I saw them play it against Inner Circle and was like, something doesn't feel right. I didn't step in and analyze it top to bottom, but I was just like, that Inner Circle game you lost, you couldn't get more than one round on T side. That's a strange map out of you. And the fact they go here against FaZe pick it, yeah, didn't look great. The Mirage is the bigger problem. The fact that on the T side of Mirage, nothing they had tried before could be used again successfully was alarming. And I hate to be an easily swayed man. I'm not. It takes me a long time to change my ways and opinions and takes. But there might be some validity to the Chopper hate. I've been a sort of semi-defender of Chopper for a long time. Executor of game plans. You know, sure, terrible fragger, but at least he dies in the right way most of the time. But they just looked so lost on their T side of Mirage against FaZe, who are, yeah, a good side with like really solid riflers. But it's like they had no answers to anything FaZe tried. And they had no real like creative out-of-the-box solutions of their own. Like the XX they would run just didn't work. This wasn't a very good spirit, just quite simply. So I might have to join the team. I might have to join the Chopper hate train. Because what on earth was that? Now, there's still a small part of me that says, hey, what about Hallie? What about Hallie? Where's the Hallie interview? Guys, I got the prep wrong. I accidentally gave them the Hotu brief instead of the FaZe brief, and that's why everything was so dreadful on Mirage. I was still waiting for that moment to come out in their vlogs, just saying. But, yeah, maybe Chopper is not great.
Yeah. Blah. Maybe it's also just FaZe magic.
It could always be FaZe magic. Because, look, you do go into that map, and then you get 21-9 out of Twists, 20-7 out of Brokey. You're like, if FaZe are going to win a series over you, just out of nowhere, the right conditions came into play. Like, Brokey?
Yeah.
Brokey was a god. Fuck.
Yeah, and Twists then repeats it against Vitality as well in the next game. Twists alone, unfortunately, which is probably why they lost. So,
yeah,
some teams can just show up at the venue and play one way that entire for the duration of the event, which is entirely agnostic of how they usually play. And FaZe is one of those teams. That's why we call it FaZe magic. Sometimes it just appears, and this seems like one of those events. So. It's the number 3 team losing against the number 14 team by HLTV ranking, I think. So, is that accurate? I don't think FaZe were playing like the number 14 team in the world. So, yeah.
No, FaZe's rankings have slipped dramatically and for understandable reasons, because, you know, the results. But as someone who was very pro-Twists being added to this team, I wasn't that shocked. Like, in terms of the level of play, I thought they could show I wasn't that shocked. Obviously, I didn't see them as a number 14 team in that context. I picked them as my underdog. I thought they'd be a great value underdog. I was happy they'd fall into that level. So I wasn't thinking this is the 14th best team in the world. If you can't beat them, it's split up. But at the same time, they didn't put up a fight. You know? They didn't put up a fight.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Like, you needed to take a map. You need to look better on your map pick. Like, if they'd have lost their map pick 13-11 or 16-14 or something like that, and they had played a really competitive game of CS, but Frozen and Twists specifically went so ham, you literally just lost, to some clutches, to some magical plays. So be it. But you couldn't even get to that point. You didn't force them to make miracles to beat you. They just were super high rated and just smashed you. Like, you were not on their level at any point.
Yeah. Bah.
So a C grade, I don't think is unfair. That's what I'm going to.
No, I think it's a C or a D plus. I think. Yeah.
No, I think a C's fair.
I could swing. Yeah.
I'd give
Chopper
it.
plus Lear when.
Can we stop? I haven't watched an Amiga game since Sway left. They are kind of terrible. Like,
how about Jerry? What about Jerry? Can we talk about Jerry again?
No. No, we can't. We really cannot.
He can save Russia.
Alpha when, yeah, we're just going to start throwing out all the Russian-speaking IGL names now.
Oh, yeah.
Shalfie, there it is.
Solik.
Who leads Nuclear Tigres again? That guy. That team always wins games they shouldn't. Nuclear Tigres, whoever your IGL is. I think it might be Senka. Yeah, guess Senka in. They need more Belarusians.
Who calls for a 9-boom pro?
That's the real question.
Next team. With Flammus. Nafany?
Oh,
there we go.
Well, if Nafany's on the team, then yeah.
No, wait, he's on Amcal. Maybe that was... fuck, now I need to check.
So 9-boom pro is Shalfie, man. It is Shalfie.
Okay, never mind then. Certified Shalfie hater. I heard he was shit, so now that's my opinion.
I'm still waiting for someone to mention Boomage.
Yeah.
Still waiting. Is everyone off the Boomage hype trade?
Nobody said Boomage.
Streams for the last 6 months, pretty much every time I get a question. Who should replace Chopper? And every time someone would always be like, but what about Boomage? Every time.
Yep.
Zeus,
I like the suggestion from 3319. Do the reverse of what the Brazilian scene is doing right now. Just get Brazilians into the CIS teams. Just move them over.
Import Fallen with all that money you got from selling Kioske.
No, you're importing like Drop or Vinny, and then you need to get Safe as a translator as well.
Yeah, drop Shiro for Safe. That'll go real well. You know exactly what Telegram's going to be posting the second that happens. Just say it's an animal that swings from trees. Like, they will be going all in. Like, they will not be happy.
CSU News will hire Klim as a consultant, yeah, and if that happens.
But yes, potentially I've joined you on the dark side, Chopper haters. I may be there. I may be there. What a dreadful Mirage T-side that was. Okay, let's get into, I think, what was been a long neglected part of the show. A member perk that we had paused just because of, well, a lack of use, I think, was the best way to put it. But here we go, and it's worked exactly as we'd hoped. We have a lot of questions to get answered. Let's begin with one that is Counter-Strike related and therefore relevant. Shale 3319, aka 3319. Do you think the HLTV World Ranking is useful for talking about teams, or has the VRS made it obsolete? Now, I have the simplest answer in terms of what my take is, because it's obvious to anyone who's ever watched any of my shows. The Double Swing still uses HLTV Ranking. I still believe it is superior in terms of understanding exactly what to expect from a team coming into an event. I don't think VRS is reflective of that. Now, Quack, you may have other opinions, but I'm just saying, my answer to the question is answered by my other show, my other regular show. I don't use VRS for it. I think it'd be a clown show if I did.
I think VRS is decently representative, but it's not better than HLTV in any way. I haven't seen anyone do the maths on it, but my subjective opinion is that if you did the math on like how often does the HLTV and VRS systems predict who's going to win a game, like number 6 comes in, like number 6 plays number 7, how often does number 7 win? Because that would mean the ranking is not necessarily inaccurate, but like the closer you are, the better the ranking is, the more representative it is. If you can more and more accurately predict the outcome of games based on ranking. HLTV ranking was very good for this for a long time. At the very least for the like top 30, top 50 level. And once you go beyond that, you're splitting hairs
50
between
is already
number
far.
6.
That's the problem. I'm
That's already
about
far.
to come into the same sort of thing because I do think HLTV is terrible beyond like 20 teams. That's always been the issue with it.
Yeah.
And that's why VRS does have one edge. When it comes to differentiating what a team has done across the year, or at least in recent sort of last 6 months, 3 months, who isn't in tier 1, I think VRS has an edge, has a pretty strong edge. But in terms of like, here is an event with like 16 of the top 20 teams in the world in attendance. Tell me who's more likely to make playoffs. Tell me who's more likely to win the event. HLTV is just far outclasses it. I think it's just way better.
Something which we must not forget is that HLTV ranking has not changed since the advent of VRS. As accurate as it has always been, it is still. I think VRS, just subjectively, I think it's a little bit more accurate going further down. I'm not sure why, but like you can go a little bit further. Yeah, you can go a little bit further down the ranking, and I do sort of feel that like, yeah, it's maybe slightly more accurate where, for example, FlyQuest are placed at the moment, just on the edge of the top 50. I'm not sure where HLTV have them, but I assume because of regions and whatever the fuck else, I assume they're a bit higher. No, they're 43rd.
FlyQuest, as soon as they win one game on LAN again, they're going to be fucking 20th. Like, that's the problem with VRS, right?
Yeah, that is the issue. But, I think HLTV is fine. I don't think HLTV ranking should have ever been used for what VRS is used for, though, which is to create invites and stuff. That's what HLTV have always said. Do not use HLTV ranking as a basis for creating your invites, etc., etc., etc. That I think it was never supposed to be used for, especially going down into tier 2 where it was normally used to decide invites. You would get like CCT events who just go off of HLTV ranking, top to bottom. Yeah, we want to invite these teams, and then they remove the ones they didn't like, basically. And put in some random ones because, hey, Boomage plays here now. And then, you could put them in. For that, I think VRS is better for the simple fact that it's open. We know how it works. And it is... You could argue, is it accurate? Is it not? What you can't really argue is that it's unfair because you know how it works. And when people talk about teams that are exploiting VRS for this and that, they're putting themselves out of position by doing this and this, you could have done that. There's nothing like beyond the fact that fucking Australian teams are always going to be Australian. I'm sorry, you can't really do anything about that. And that's to your detriment on the VRS. You can be repatriated. You can be forgiven for your ancestors' crimes and come back to the United Kingdom, maybe. But
it's not go too far. There's enough of them in fucking South London as it is. Like, you can't take the Northern Line 3 stops south and not hear an Aussie accent. Like, they just occupy Balham, Clapham, all that area. Like, that's just Australians. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know why, but it just is.
But like generally speaking, you see a lot of the teams going like, yeah, they're abusing VRS, they're abusing the system by going and gaining stuff for this. It's not an abuse. Just fucking do it. This is how the system works. The code base is there. If you want to win, go read it, go understand it, find out what's the best course of action. That's how you win in the scene. If you don't we can argue, is that the best way our Counter-Strike scene should be structured? No, but I don't think it's unfair. And to contrast that to HLTV, we have no fucking idea how the HLTV world ranking works. We have absolutely no fucking idea what the components are for that. So for that, yeah. But as a predictor for who is best, who is worse, it's very good.
Yeah. So using the invite sort of monthly update going, and especially when you're talking about again deeper cuts into the scene, tier 2, all that stuff. Yeah, it's great. Honestly, it is really good. Like, I give them that credit. It is better than HLTV beyond the top sort of 1620. But it is pretty unreliable within that sort of region to be used in the way we'd want to use it. So, as a ranking, I don't think it's very good. As a decider of who gets an invite based on a monthly update, pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. So it doesn't have to be good in every way, and I certainly think that it can. For now, it will not make HLTV obsolete. Like, HLTV World Ranking will not be made obsolete just by this. Like, I think that's not the case, but it certainly has its uses, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Right. Our next question comes from, well, you know him, you don't really like him. He is pretty much the cock of the week every week, but hey, he's a member, so we let him ask a question, okay? We just have to. We have to let him ask a question. Quakey CS asks, what are the top 3 things you would improve, that you think would improve the Counter-Strike scene the most? The top 3. So, of course, you have to make it a slight inconvenience for us, this Quakey guy. Let's have a think. So, Quake, I don't know about you. I don't have a top 3 that comes to mind. I have some ideas of stuff I think could make the scene better. But what is your instinct on this? Like, top 3?
I assume I had an answer when I wrote this in mine. I have forgotten this. This is about 2 weeks ago now. Let me think. Top 3 things to make the Counter-Strike scene better. I think less cheaters. More...
Valve, please fix.
I see. See, the thing is, like, more tier 2 lands. We already kind of have that. We're kind of back in that regard. We have a lot of tier 2 lands. I'm not even sure. Why did I ask this question? I'm completely blanking on why I asked this question. I was a different person back then. I've started taking vitamin B supplements recently. Maybe that's
Vitamin
that was my
B?
vitamin. Maybe my vitamin B
Why?
deficiency made me ask stupid, because I'm deficient. I took a blood test and I need more vitamin B.
What are you not eating?
I don't know. Honestly, it's weird because I eat everything which vitamin B is in excessive amounts, and I'm still
Clearly
deficient.
not.
So
Clearly not.
I assume it's genetic. It's a family thing. But yeah, maybe I was a whole different person when I was vitamin B deficient, and that's why I asked stupid questions. But now I can't remember. I can't remember anything. I think it's such a dumb question because I don't have anything to answer. What would make the Counter-Strike scene better right now? Fucking... I don't know. I'm pretty happy as is. More lands.
Right. So let me see. What would I like? What would just make the scene better?
Well, that could
Valve
mean anything.
Esports
That could be,
The Valve Esports Commission. Actual Valve interest, oversight, a legitimization of ESIC, essentially by integrating them into the Valve Esports Commission, at least for our game. I'm sure they exist in other games, but yes, the Valve Esports Commission to help fund and run ESIC properly. An Esports Commission that could also create unified, homogenized sort of streaming platforms that could be pay-per-view. In that sense,
I have one. Big disbanding. No, I would love that. Virtus Pro, like Thanos snapped. Excellent. That would improve everything.
Yeah. But yes,
no, okay,
a way to pay to watch the game, and in that way create extra revenue, ways to support TOs. If you wanted to make more small lands, create a women's circuit that actually can be funded, you can create a variety of different ways through the Valve Esports Commission to fund that. People buy cases all the time. You can create cases that support small events. You can create cases that support women's events. And you can get little titles or badges for it. Let's say you bought a case that helps run the women's scene. You could get a very basic little pin badge for it. And then when you've bought 1,000 of them, you get like Feminist Queen as a pin or whatever. I don't know. But other games have titles for doing stuff. You can probably get titles for doing stuff in CS as well. There are ways for a more involved, more interested Valve to make everything a lot better in terms of the health and obviously the sort of just the depth of the scene to be aided. Like, just everyone from top to bottom to get some help.
you've activated like the sleeper agent phrase, which made me remember why I asked this question. And it is more revenue streams directly from the consumer to tournament operators and to the scene in general. It doesn't even have to be through Valve. I think it would be most convenient if it was through Valve, but it doesn't even have to be. And it's a simple fact that every time people say, "Oh, this thing isn't going to work," people are going to be upset because something free becomes
I need
paid.
to address something as well in chat. Nobody would want it. No, everybody would want it. You're telling me, like in the same way, you know, Pimp being called Pimp would be a troll just to get killed by a guy who calls himself Pimp. You're telling me when your death thing pops up and Feminist Queen is underneath their name, there wouldn't be a little bit of that Russian 12-year-old that gets mad? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that a little bit.
Can I cast your mind back to CS:GO when we used to have groups, like Steam groups, and you could have the name of the Steam group in front of your name? I am going to find you a Steam group, which is called Feminism. And I want you to ask yourself how many people joined that group, ironically, over, seriously wanting to represent feminism as a whole.
Probably thousands.
Thousands. They had thousands of members. And yeah, you would get like feminist slur. That's who killed you in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. People would spend gazillions for the feminist badge, even if they did it ironically, and that doesn't even matter. Money is money. So yeah, but like more direct revenues.
God damn, this is why having a live chat sometimes is a problem.
It's excellent. Having like more direct revenue streams is what we need, because there's so many signs right now that TOs are absolutely shrinking. We have TOs who are entering exclusivity agreements with Kick because the sponsors they need to operate are not allowed on Twitch. That's why they go to Kick. That's fucking dire straits. You're telling me the only sponsors you could find to run your tournament are not allowed on Twitch. You would want alternatives, and they couldn't find them. That's why they had to go to Kick. ESL Impact shuts down. More and more events are running online, like group stages, and are like shrinking the LAN portions of their event. We have Blast this year. For example, the bounty system. I'm 100% sure they're running. Part of why that format exists is because they want to save money on running the group stage online. ESL Pro League, the next few editions of ESL Pro League will have online Swiss stages. I think only the playoffs are going to be are going to be on LAN. Unfortunately, the next couple of editions starting from next year. We have a lot of this stuff is happening, unfortunately, and the real solution is that you look at the Counter-Strike scene and you ask yourself, well, who's paying? Because I'm not paying. You're not paying. Fucking nobody in this chat is paying a single dime for ESL to keep operating their events. And then, we pay with our attention because we look at ads.
Ads are worse.
Why don't you just pay? Yeah, why don't you just pay directly? And the answer is because ESL can't pull the plug on that. They can't just suddenly go over to a paid model because, like I said, something which was free became paid. So, in brief, there's a couple of things which need to happen, but something I think would drastically improve the Counter-Strike scene right now is more direct ways to fund TOs. And the simple reason is, why does company A decide to sponsor ESL? They do that because their sponsorship of 500 monies will indirectly return 600 monies because the consumers go spend money at their company instead. Otherwise, they wouldn't sponsor it. Like, nobody's losing money on paying for an ESL sponsorship when it's all said and done. So in the end, the consumer is happy to pay 600 monies to, keep ESL running, when they could instead pay 500 monies. And that's a tricky balance. But then, you see a lot of counter arguments. I've been arguing this all week. See a lot of counter arguments. Well, esports has a younger audience. 16-year-olds don't have money to spend the same way that, a 26-year-old pays for watching Premier League. A 16-year-old can't. They can't do this. Of course, they can't. But a 16-year-old is also not the average Counter-Strike viewer. The average recurring professional Counter-Strike viewer is a betting addict. They are happy to spend money on this hobby. They do it every day in a very predatory way. That money exists. Let's try to funnel that money directly to the TOs. And like my model, the way that I would want this to work is How many people who watch Counter-Strike often are Thorin Patreons, Kingt members, Maui Snake Patreons, subscribe to Richard Lewis's Substack for additional benefits, which are fun for them to enjoy their hobby. Like, ask yourself honestly, would you not pay €6 a month for an ESL or a Blast or a PGL premium membership with they paywall, like their roundtables, all of those videos, they paywall them. That they had a video on their YouTube ESL the other week, which was like a pug game between Donk, Nico, Munisi, Kyusuke, all these people in like a phased pug game. Got over 1 million fucking views. It's a 40-minute video. It's literally just a VOD of them playing a pug with comms. Over 1 million views. People would pay for that. People would 100% pay for that. And even if just and then you go, well, not enough people are going to pay. If just a fucking tiny amount of people pay, you're already making more money than you do with sponsors. So yeah, there's ways to go about it, but that's something I would want.
Yeah, just so people understand. Think about, firstly, the amount of money ESL pay out to teams. That's probably most of the sponsor budget gone. Like, that's probably mostly from sponsors. Is the payouts that teams receive for competing and placing. So $1 million of expense out the window. Either it's straight expense from them or it's just their advertising or advertisers gone. So I did a rough calculation based on some ad revenue data I have for myself in terms of, based on the watch hours they got for Pro League, the entirety of Pro League, potentially how much money they could have added to that pool, like what their ad revenue is from that pool. At best, it's $400,000. So you have maybe $1.5 million to get everyone to a different country, hire out the space for it. This is Pro League, cheap run. So they might have made some money off of this event. But think about if it's
their they already own the studio. It's the same talent they're hiring all the time.
But think about it as if it's a different event, potentially. Think about it in terms of this budget, but you're trying to get people to China, to Sao Paulo. You're getting an arena. You're sorting out all the logistics for that, paying everyone involved behind the scenes. And I'm telling you, it's a lot of people. As someone who casually walked behind the scenes at Blast London just because he got lost and security was dreadful, there's a lot of people who have to work to put on these sorts of events. I mean, Blast London's probably one of the most expensive events to run of the year when it comes to just events, hiring, just the arena, the hotel rooms, all that kind of thing. It's a ridiculously small amount of money to talk about ad revenue. And that's the best case scenario. More realistically, they get about half that, if that. So they do need other revenue streams to make these things as great as we want them to be. Like, we want events to have proper formats, longer formats, all be on LAN, all be in stadiums. They just can't afford it. So that's a very long answer to that question.
Yes.
Because we just...
And now I have 2 more. No, I'm joking.
No, I'm not getting into that. So the next question comes from Snake196, who asks, what's the next big thing that excites you in games? So I'm talking games in general. Yeah, games in general. I checked with the question asker. I'm aware of who they are in terms of what they meant. And yes, it is games in general. So it could be another game, could be something else. For me, I know what my answer is. It's for Arrowhead Studios to stop being completely dog shit and make their game run on my computer, because it doesn't. It just crashes on launch, so I can't play their game on launch, on my PC right now, rather. It just crashes on repeat. I've sent them about 100 different crash reports in all caps. I raised a ticket to which they answered, we are aware that there are currently issues. Generic default thing, so I sent them a sarcastic response asking if they're actually going to fix it, or if I should just refund the game. The game being Helldivers 2, by the way. Yes, that's the next big thing that excites me. Arrowhead being able to make a game that works, so I can play that game. That's it. That's all I have to look forward to in this life. Quacker, anything?
That's a really interesting question, actually. I'm not sure I have anything. Like, I'm not super aware of the trends that are going on here. Maybe the most recent huge gaming developments, I guess, would be hardware, like more portable gaming, Steam Deck, etc. We had VR as well, but that's over the last couple of years. So I'm not sure what the next step there is. If you ask Valve, it's like brain computer interfaces, which I am not excited about. I don't ever want that to happen to my head. I don't know if I have anything. I don't know if I have anything outright. Maybe there's just a bunch of cool titles that I know are on the way at the moment, which I from like franchises I really like. Like we have a new Europa Universalis coming out, which I think is cool. After ages, we have a new GTA coming out. A new Battlefield just came out. I'm not a big Battlefield guy, but like it's it's cool how the cycle sort of is continuing in a way where like we're having cool games coming out. I think maybe what I've found the most joy in the past couple of days, like friend swap games in a weird way, and that term maybe isn't really doing it justice, but like fun party games.
And games and friend swap is the right way to put it, because they are so miserable without friends.
It is absolutely,
and
games. even with friends, they are kind of slop because they get boring a little bit after a while. Like, how many times did you really play Lethal Company, Repo?
I never played them.
Peak. Okay. I did. I played all three of those. They were fun. They were really fun for a while, and then they stopped being really fun. So I think maybe what I'm most excited about is that this is a really cool trend. This is a really cool way. It's very accessible. Like, it's to the point where, like, before, if you asked somebody, do you play any video games? If they only played one game, that answer was always Minecraft. Now you have like a lot of people who maybe like Repo, Lethal Company, Peak, that's their first video game. That's quite amazing. And if we can get to a point, like keep improving, keep iterating in this genre, like what are the core concepts? Like what can they fix to improve this and make better and better games in this sort of genre? Amazing. And like it really makes everything more accessible. It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more social. And the fact that it is boring to play alone just makes it more social in general, and that's something I really like. I think maybe that's it. The continued improvement of friend slop games.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Excel. Impact. Did it live up to the billing? And should ESL have given Impact winners guaranteed spots at take your pick, but a bunch of different events? I've already rejected that idea personally. Like, I hated that idea, but some other people seem to like it. But realistically, the question I want to answer here is, did it live up to the billing?
I assume this question might have been asked before last week's episode, because we did kind of answer this in a way.
In a way, but I don't see any harm in answering again.
Go ahead.
Kind of. It's the best way to put it. Like, it did what it was supposed to do, in a sense, where it created and maintained this sort of scene. Like, sure, we constantly lost orgs, and then orgs would come back, or some orgs would replace them, because there was a lack of faith that it would grow something more. You know, Blast didn't ever set up their own female circuit or anything like that, so it didn't have that expansion. That would have seen orgs, I think, really stay in and invest. But as far as Impact having the impact that it was supposed to, in terms of maintaining the women's scene and keeping it present, I think it smashed it. And it also, you know, provided, as we talked about last week, a place for, you know, unproven talents to take the first steps, to show that they could provide value to a team. To be like, yeah, I am a coach. Like, sure, I didn't play 12 years of top CS, and I didn't get to immediately step into coaching Prime Astralis, like, as my first coaching role, or anything like that. But I have something to prove. And I actually have a brain for the game. That's what a lot of people were able to do as coaches, just tangentially, like, attached to the scene. Like, it wasn't just good for, you know, keeping the women's scene alive. It served a purpose as far as, like, sort of grassroots CS, as you like to talk about. Like, it provided that stepping stone. And it was, in that way, its impact was real and it was felt. It's just it didn't quite have the impact that you could have hoped for, in the sense of creating a bigger, more wider reaching, more elaborate, essentially, women's scene with other orgs getting involved, invested, because I think ESL didn't quite see the returns they needed, or, well, weren't able to show off the returns that they hoped for in terms of things that would entice other orgs to try it. So it's close, but not quite there.
Yep. I think it definitely served its purpose. I think it was very good while it existed. Like I said last week, I completely just dismissed the argument, well, it didn't make money. It was never supposed to make money. And yeah, that sucks. I want to answer the second part of the question, and I think even you can agree with this one. where you can maybe change your tune here. Should ESL have given Impact winners guaranteed spots at take your pick from EPL, Catacomb play-ins, ECLs, etc.? Basically one LAN spot. They should have
No.
in the fucking partner era, because we had to watch fucking Evil Geniuses. You cannot tell me with a straight face that Evil Geniuses, ranked below the 200 mark in the world, played fuck all, won fuck all. It was a fucking news event when they won a map in one of these events. You cannot tell me that that EG were better off for that spot than like an Imperial Valkyrie, or at the time Enigma Galaxy or whatever would have been there. Because if you're just gonna have a team which is probably gonna lose every single game anyway, why give it to the big team who are doing it there with a dead end project ruining players' careers instead of a women's team where it might actually do some good?
Maybe there's a case to make for the specific replacement of Evil Geniuses in the partner era. But in this day and age,
this day and age, no. I don't think there should have been like a fast track in that way. I think the imbalance is just too big. If the separation was smaller, yeah, maybe, in the same way that, like, there was a reason for Cologne to have a German qualifier, there was a reason for Katowice to have a Polish qualifier. The gap is smaller there. Like you get an alternate attacks into Cologne, or a Sprout, which it would have been at the time, or who else was there? Permitta. You get those teams into these events, and yeah, the gap is small enough where, like, you're probably putting like a top 60 team into the event, and it's a bullshit spot. The 24th ranked team in the world probably deserves it more. But at least, that gap is small enough where they could win some games. There's a chance of an upset run. It's like regional, you're helping the region, etc., etc., etc. The gap is a bit too big. Today, I don't think we should have it. But we were wasting spots anyway, is my point. So if we, like, in the end, the answer is Evil Geniuses paid a lot of money to be ESL partners. So of course they're going to be at these events. But fucking, like, from my point of view, I just feel like we had some of these invites and some of these events where, like, OG were guilty of it as well. They were just building dead end lineups that weren't doing anything, but they were partners, and that's how they cheesed. They were in every single Blast group stage. They were in, and like they cheesed their way into like showdown and finals events because that's the only thing they played. And like, you're doing nothing to sustain yourself at a top 20 level, absolutely nothing, and yet you're here. You might as well be Enigma Galaxy, and maybe we would have seen some more positive development out of it in that regard, with nothing else lost. If the same games are still losses for the invited team, it changes nothing. Nothing is better or worse. Doesn't matter if it's Anna or Junior playing in that regard for me. So, yeah. I would rather have seen Anna. So, yeah. That's the one case where I feel like we should have had it. But now it's too late, because now we have a better system where Evil Geniuses can't just pay to be in every ESL Pro League and every other IEM event, etc., etc. So now we shouldn't have it. But maybe one day, like maybe one day, obviously with Impact being gone, that's a big setback. But maybe one day the gap is close enough where we could have it and justify it.
Yeah, we're far cry from it, in my opinion. But
yeah,
I'm
maybe
not
one
say
day
it's impossible. But yeah, okay. We have a pair of questions from Her Sweet Moon. We're gonna start CS related. What transfer would you most like to see that isn't strictly based on firepower? Now, in that sense, I believe all moves are strictly related to firepower, because even if you're moving IGLs, you're trying to unlock more potential from your firepower. So technically everything's firepower related, but yes, I know what the question means. Look, we talked about it earlier. Obviously, everyone's going to want to see Chopper replaced. That's the most obvious one, right? We all know. But maybe we can have a think for something that's not so obvious. Just everyone doesn't like this IGL, replace this IGL. Something that's a little more creative. It's more difficult because now I can't make some of the moves I'd want to, which is certainly a lot of my moves are this player underperforms, this player should be removed. In that sense, it is this player's not giving me the firepower that I need. And in that sense, yeah, I'm going to struggle a bit because it's like, I'd want Netu on 3D Max. Part of it is the firepower. It's not because he's got a bunch of experience. It's not like he's adding a lot to the team in that sense. It is just he shoots a lot better than Lucky, in my opinion. I don't know. I'll have to give it a think. Do you have anything that comes to mind, Quack?
Yeah, Susp going almost anywhere is not really based on firepower, because I think he's better than a lot of the players I want to replace with him. But it's not firepower related, really. It's more like he's just better. He's more consistent. He's better in these roles. So the one that I've been talking about is Heroic. I don't think Susp has more firepower than Xcloud. Like, I think they're fairly even in terms of their peak performance. The best Susp game is probably also fairly equal to the best Xcloud game. But you're getting a much more solid level out of that. So yeah, that's the one I've been talking about. I can't really think of another right off the bat. See, any move I want to make around Gamer. Yeah. Gamer Legion is like
I'm getting a better player in, aren't I? I'm getting a
better opera. Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing with G2. Like, I'm getting a better opera in potentially. Like, that's the first move that comes to mind. Maybe G2 is an interesting one where we can talk about IGL changes again. But
yep.
It's not exactly something I'm desperate for. So I couldn't say it in good faith.
No, I don't have an obvious pick there either.
I guess again on Astralis, like, I'd be willing to change a player, put a player in for Magisk. A good part of it is because Magisk is bad. To put it bluntly, he's just not very good. So I'd want someone who's better at shooting people, hence firepower. So as much as it does, like, if you had not replaced Staven with Magisk, I could have gone, go get like Anlele or Nut, whoever it is you think plays the right role, Syra potentially out of Ecstatic in, and use Ster as a star player. Like, that could have been, a more interesting change in terms of, especially, like, you're talking role dynamics as well, while still getting a solid level out of the player. Like, firepower's in your mind, but it's also about getting Ster into the star roles. So in terms of moves like that, I think is where we should be aiming our intentions. Like, shifting a role, a player out in order to allow a different player to be more of a starring feature on a team.
I think. Could you give me a Swede who I could replace Aros Dos with? Just real quick.
Aros Dos. Dude, you can put Susp anywhere, man. Just put Susp in.
Yeah, all right, fine. Susp for Aros Dos. It's not strictly based on firepower, because he is more. I think he's better than Aros Dos. It's also based on the fact that then they could play the Swedish Cup, all right, and they could come to our LAN and they could make it all the more valuable. So that's what I would do. Come see if you're in Stockholm in the middle of November. Come see the Swedish Cup. Final is on my birthday. If you see me at the LAN, tell me happy birthday.
Don't. we can't be nice to Quack now. We can't shift the paradigm this extremely.
Tell him I have a bad birthday. Tell him I hope you have a shit birthday, dude.
Tell him you think he's too small. Yeah, tell him he's short. There you go.
I'm not short.
See, he's sensitive about it. Tell him he's short. I got him. I found the problem.
See, Asylum. Here's your misinformation. I'm 6 foot.
Is he really? Come on, ladies. You all know. The reality. The more he protests. But no, I think an interesting move might be actually on Liquid. And in terms of... Look, you just signed a leash. Why do I need nerds? What do I need nerds for? People are going to be like, he does something. No, he doesn't. He actually doesn't. So in terms of that position on the team, I think you could replace nerds with a variety of different types of players. Honestly, my go-to pick would be just a pack rifler. Like someone who can play off of your hard entry, or can play just like a hard entry role themselves should it be needed. So maybe an interesting replacement there would be someone who can just be a more flexible and less lurky rifler than Nuts. Because I do think I want Elige and Naf to figure out who's going to lurk across maps. And Elige in that sense be the aggro lurker that we know for the meta right now. And get a pack rifler to just play off of Shuhei. Or play third man to Elige Shuhei when that kind of exec happens. Maybe, again, you can suggest Susp for every damn player at this point who's got a rifle in his hand, but I don't think he would be a good Liquid addition. In terms of potential... Who fits that mold on in NA? I'm trying to think in terms of North American players.
Yeah, you
Obviously Twist
in
has
the NA
done
core.
it at times, but we can't.
Oh, it
really
could be South
go back to
American.
that.
Let's it could be a South American player as well. Let's broaden our horizons.
Yeah, no, okay. Like Insani's not quite there because Insani does play some more off roles in terms of aggressive lurks.
Is this NRG? I don't know. Maybe something like George.
Ooh, Tomashin's a good shout.
Tomashin is always a good shot. Put him anywhere.
He does close a little
what he
more
does.
than I'd like, but he's not a bad pick, honestly.
Is there an Odic player? Maybe like a Case Looks? I don't know. I'm just
No.
thinking who missed the major. What could you actually do?
No, Odic are bad. I've decided I'm not allowed to talk about them. Also, I don't think Lake fits the mold. Lake is an incredibly hard entry in terms of like star setup, throw him out. I don't necessarily want that on this team. I want a balance between Elige and Shuhei on the more aggressive side. Hex is a very hard lurker right now and closer, but he can play more in the pack. So
yeah, he's been a pack player in the past.
I actually do kind of like the idea of trying to figure out if we could get maybe a Lato. Lato and Dumao's roles have always been changing, so it's always hard to get the exact perception of what they are in my head. But one of those guys could probably do a pretty stellar job. I feel like it's more Lato, but I don't know. So yeah, that's probably non-roster roster move that's not direct firepower. And on the other side of things, this is a question that confused the hell out of me, and so I had to do some research, and then horrified me. What does T and Quack, I guess, think of rock and metal elements in other genres like hyper rock and industrial hip hop?
I'll say I listened to these examples. The two examples I think are kind of ass. Like I think like, okay, so the two example songs here, if you know this sort of stuff or if you want to listen along, Billy Knows Jamie by 100 Gex. I thought that was fine, but and then industrial hip hop, for example, Simon Phoenix by H09909 and JPEG Mafia.
That's horror to you, actually.
Horror, okay.
But spelled
how
with 9
the fuck is a 9 an R?
Yeah, so as I said this in the pre-show, but
okay.
I've seen this band live, and they are.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. But like asking if you didn't give me these examples of genres, then maybe I would probably say, yeah, I really like it. Something I like a lot is like, because I listen to some like indie stuff and indie pop and stuff, and a lot of them are doing more stuff with like some heavier like fuzz and overdrive and stuff, which I like because of guitar. And I really like that because it's a nice sort of juxtaposition, because you go from like a lot of acoustic guitars, it's all kind of like soft and like poppy and like wishy-washy, but then it's like you still have this like zzz, and I really like that. So I guess that's a rock and metal element, I think, so that's nice.
It is, yeah. It's for me this question's interesting because like the thing is, when you start adding rock and metal elements to other genres, you subtly create new metalheads. Like over time, they eventually become metalheads. People with taste and proper place in culture, let's say. Because the music that's been suggested, Billy Knows Jamie by 100 Gex, no, and horror, I've literally booed them off stage.
You said this, yeah.
Booed them off stage. They are ass. Like so cheeks. A better example of industrial hip hop with like these sorts of heavy elements. It's not as original a take, but Death Grips have some really heavy songs, and there's no actual guitar I think used in any of them, but the way the percussion sounds, the way the synths have been like set up, does sound more like an industrial rock sort of sound. Like in terms of how dark it is, how heavy it is, it probably is more translatable. And I'm pro it. I don't want to listen to those other genres like hyper rock and industrial hip hop. Just not for me. They're not what I like to listen to. But if it converts more metalheads, just W. It's a slippery slope type of thing, but it is a W. I mean, look, what are they called? There's some like slam or hardcore band who played a big American festival, which was at the time just a weird thing to see. Also made everyone call them sellouts. But I didn't care. It looked like a dope show, to be honest. But that sort of thing is always going to be a pro for me because I'm like, yeah, create more metalheads. Even if they do listen to the core genres that all the true metalheads hate on, I've never been opposed to it. So thank you, Sherbs. Knock Loose. I knew you'd remember the name. Like when Knock Loose played Lollapalooza or whatever it was. Fat dub. You create some metalheads that day. I'll see him in the pits.
Yeah. I don't really care about genre as long as it goes hard. You know, that's the only genre I need to define a song. Does it go hard? Yeah. So, fuck yeah.
Yeah, I don't listen to songs though, so I've never had that sort of energy.
Me.
It's just an albums kind of guy, and that's the problem.
Yeah,
I
no,
always have.
you see, us playlist curators, we actually create the albums ourselves by
How many songs on your average playlist? Like 31,000 or whatever? Like
no, average one is probably 60 maybe. The biggest ones are about let me check how many tracks this has. Real quick. 6,492.
That's not curated. That is, I've smashed.
No, that's not curated.
Like,
that's not. Yes, that is what it is. That's not curated. The rest have like 60 maybe.
But yeah, that's the answer to that question. MF Vondas.
Good question.
Some people would recognize. Which player has impressed you the most this season, relative to expectations? Quite an important caveat. Relative to expectations, because yes, everyone kind of expected certain players to be good. Those who paid attention expected Matisse to be good. But on the other side of things, who's surprised? Now, for me, there's a pretty easy one. I've had to confess that I was shocked 100 times. It's Towson. I really did not have Towson pegged to be a quality tier 1 role player, or even, beyond his roles role player. That was a shock. I'm glad to have been wrong, because Game Legion have benefited from it. Sure, they've shat the bed on their AWPing signings, and they've just struggled to get their game going since then. But Towson himself was a great pickup, who I was genuinely impressed by and had low expectations of. So, fat dub.
Yeah, I was trying to think about like who is the most bullshit answer I can give her. Somebody where the expectations were down in the dumps, and they haven't been amazing, but they've done fine. So therefore, they exceeded the expectations by a big margin. Towson might have answered that question, to be honest. Out of everybody, that he might be that pick, because he's not amazing, but he's definitely good. And my expectations for Towson was, what the fuck are you doing? Why did you sign this guy? But proving me wrong, proving me very wrong. I think mine is just off the top of my head. I feel like this is an impact to take, but I think Emsan has been excellent. And again, those of us who pay attention know that she was very skilled all the time. Like the whole time she was playing really well. She was excellent. But she had some very tough impact seasons with Ens Athena, and I'll admit, like, no, she wasn't all that great either. But since then, she sort of smashed it. And right now, Big QnA are in contention for being the last ever impact champion. So off the top of my head, that's the first one I'm thinking of. But if I had to pick a tier 1 option, like a weird one, like a one which I think is like technically correct, I could honestly see Kiyosuke being that, simply because the expectation was maybe from a lot of people that he would come into tier 1 and be like any other player who smashes tier 1 and goes into or smashes tier 2 and goes into tier 1, where like you're still good, but you're some level below tier 2, and he's still, so just by virtue of exceeding it by that much, I think maybe that's it. I'll say maybe Klim, but that's mostly just because there were no fucking expectations on him in the first place when the year started, and now he's kind of destroying.
Yeah,
yeah. Actually, yeah, just tossing out some names. I think 910 is a good shout. Yakindo is a really good shout. Nilo is also a really good shout.
I'm not sure about the Nilo one, but I do think Yakindo's great. Yakindo's a great one. As in, when he gets signed, everyone's like, why?
Everybody thought the same thing. We then thought about Kickert signing for MIBR. That's what we all thought.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like, this is twisted. This is wrong. And look, the Nilo one I can't agree with, just because it's not quite riding a bike, but also at the same time he's not been that good. So it's kind of like, he got all his spots, and he's still a 1.04. Like, he's below expectation, to be honest. I didn't expect him to be Tanir coming out. I just expected him to be better. And he had a couple good series, but otherwise just not great. But no, I think Towson for me might be my, like, in that sense, if we had an award for this at the end of the year, I think Towson would be fighting with Yakindar for it, in terms of who had no expectations and surpassed everything. Those two would be the guys.
Yeah. I think another one maybe under the radar is James, because if you cast your mind back to the start of the year, he was benched on VP, joining an unranked lineup in an ecosystem with no open qualifiers, and now he's going to the major. I think that was a big a big slog for them, and I think that he did well there. You could say the same for some of the NIP guys as well. Maybe Shush, same thing there, coming off of a broken up heroic roster into an unranked NIP lineup. Somehow over the spring season was just straight up a fucking star player, and then now he's solid and also going to the major now. So yeah,
the Paravision roster has been a fantastic like story to follow, and James is the biggest part of it. Like technically it's James and Dastan, but the James of it all is what's really been impressive. Again, I do think it was. It wasn't. The expectations couldn't have been that low, though. The problem is, expectations for James were kind of, you have to be good in tier 2, like you have to be able to do something, and he did, and it's kind of in that sense, like the expectations were fairly there. He hit them. We haven't reached that point yet. If he goes to the major and finishes top 4, like holy crap! Yes, you've surpassed any expectation anyone could ever had for you going down to tier 2 and signing all the most talented riflers in Russia. But seeing as he did go down to tier 2 and just sign all the most talented riflers in Russia, he's about hit expectation, and it's not that big of a turnaround in that sense. And the next question is the opposite, which is about to be the most brutal roast session of the show, I assume. What teams excited you but have massively disappointed you? We haven't ripped on Heroic much today.
No, and I was about to, because this has an obvious answer for followers of the show. Actually, 2 of them, for me at the very least. It's Heroic and it's Wildcard. Because at the start of the year, I was legitimately thinking, yes, this Heroic lineup can develop enough where they can maybe be in contention for like tier 1 playoffs at the end of the spring season. And then I actually said I think there's going to be 2 North American teams in the Austin Major playoffs, and in my mind I was thinking Wildcard are one of them. So yeah, fucking hugely disappointed by both of those teams, and it's not even the Swedes biasing me here, because I did just expect more. And Heroic, I think, just fumbled the summer shuffle. Basically, like, Tenir gets bought out, what the fuck are you gonna do? And G2 comes and buys Saw and Senpaias again, what the fuck are you gonna do? They have not recovered whatsoever, and it just wasn't good whatsoever. And as for Wildcard, well, yeah, the fumble is, we've talked about it for months.
Yeah, but it's all about excitement. And Wildcard, the excitement was never that much of a fever pitch in terms of just a roster gets assembled. Heroic, we kind of had this excitement just because we'd seen them bounce back every time. And we expected them to do it again. And even then, the excitement for the Nilo edition of the roster post-Tanir was damp. And with the excitement was pretty meh. We weren't that hyped because we knew how much of a loss it was. Some of the teams that actually disappointed me this year, FaZe Elige was hugely hyped by some idiot with a mustache and a nice chin towards the end of last year. Good looking guy, but yeah, he got that one a bit wrong. Like, he was a bit overexcited. It ended up kind of breaking the team, really. So no, that one's a good pick. I think FaZe Elige, that team, disappointed massively. I think, what did they actually achieve? Like 2 top placings? Like, not even was there even a grand final in there? You know what I mean? Like, that's not a great showing. I think that's one of the ones we can actually be somewhat disappointed by, in terms of we were hyped and we just didn't get what we'd hoped we would. Katowice, well, there's no top 4s listed until Bucharest, and then no top 4s again till Blast Open London, where Legion's gone. If I'm not mistaken.
There's another one I'm thinking of, which is you could maybe give it to Mouse. And by that, I'm sort of thinking, where were we by New Year's? And I'm thinking we had an off season where Jimmy was being pulled in every direction. Shuey was at one point mentioned as a Falcons potential signing, but they managed to retain everybody. Brawlan was working pretty well where he was at, and you were starting to get a bit more consistency out of Torji and Sershin. You managed to retain Jimpat. You managed to retain Shuey. Okay. I'll sort of feel like, okay, now the trend has to continue upwards. Immediately get rid of Chewy. They get Spinks in. Works fine for a while. And now we're sort of talking about them like...
They win Cluj-Napoca, second, top four, second. Like, they are just objectively like the third best team in the world the entire year.
They are, but they are objectively also fucking stagnated. Like, we're bored. I almost want them to make a roster change because of fucking boredom.
I pray for this stagnation for myself. I'm just praying. Just please let me be as stagnant as Mongolz are at third place in the world.
I'm just saying the expectation would have. The expectation for Mongolz with this young of a roster, with this like ex-NXT core, with the sort of development they've had, the expectation at the start of the year is this is going to keep moving upwards, and it just hasn't.
Kind of. There's always been the hope that it could keep getting better. There's always been hope, but to say it's expected was I think, misguided and a misrepresentation.
Well, it depends on who you ask, because some people think that the NXT players are overrated and won't be that good. Some people think they are excellent and will be the future number one team, 100%. But like, I don't know. I feel like it's not the biggest disappointment, obviously, but it's
This is a fantastic
far
year.
from it. Yeah, but yeah. Virtus Pro, maybe? You were very excited. You were excited about Virtus Pro when they signed Flamus.
Oh, of course. Who wasn't? Flamus was great.
I always hated Virtus Pro, so I was definitely
I mean, in that sense of I'm not saying I was a big Virtus Pro fan. It's just I liked the Flamus
but
move.
You were excited by the prospect of a death ball, as you called it.
It'd have been pretty nuts if they'd have ever played CS that suited their players, but they never did. They thought too much of themselves. They were the classic, annoying ass like shitter you come across in matchmaking who's like 8K, and he's just like, well, actually, you misplayed there because you should have. It's like, shut up and rush me. You are garbage. In the same sort of sense that these guys are not a group of super high intellect lurkers who could outmaneuver everyone for a minute and 50 seconds. They should have just rushed B a bit more. A lot more.
Yep.
And they just didn't play in that way. They played the worst possible CS possible. Just possible.
Yep. But, it didn't meet that excitement. I think
that's a decent suggestion for that one.
Yeah, fits the question, yeah.
But yeah. The real answer that everyone actually has been waiting for. It's actually Northern Lights. Which brings us smoothly...
Legitimately fucking true, yeah.
Smoothly into the next segment, because Northern Lights are the next segment. And my word, what a disappointment that is. Like, holy... we didn't have much in terms of, like, knowledge, understanding of who... Like, personally, I didn't know who Mongolz was behind the scenes. He'd never even had a picture on HLTV. The players he played with on this Northern Lights team, I was like, oh, random mix number 7,244. I didn't have two shits to rub together when it came to that sort of entire roster. But I had some excitement because Mongolz put up crazy numbers at a young age, had pop-off performances left, right, and center. So the Northern Lights news, I've called it mess, was a tragedy. And now, Quack, you're going to talk us through it, and hopefully you're going to give some tidbits that aren't necessarily fully available. I'm hoping you know some stuff. My journalist of the year, please give us something.
Oh, thank you. Actually, it is a very good transition to start with, like, where the expectations was for this team prior. That is legitimately a good place to start, because that's around that time, shortly before this year started, is where this team sort of came together. And in that first iteration, they actually started out with having fucking 2 players on the lineup. But like, the players you're talking about are Axelen, who's sort of the core of this team, and Mongolz, and you have sort of random players coming in and out. They they show up in grassroots tournaments here and there. They have various iterations of players. They were playing with Sham for a while, who was on Godsent. They were playing with Frank for a while, who was on Godsent. Snow as well, who was also on Godsent. These are names that people outside of Sweden might still recognize, so they show up here. And they're doing stuff in grassroots tournament during the spring as Melo9 sort of goes from this slightly unknown 15-year-old, joins Johnny Speeds, performs really well, gets bought out by Medisport for 100,000 euros or whatever, almost. Mine starts to get talked about as like filling that vacuum for what Melo9 was, because he's the same age. He's a little bit younger than Melo9, I think, even. And he starts to get talked about as the new Melo9, in a sense, the post Medisport transfer Melo9. That's what mine sort of starts to get talked about. And they sort of debut for real in another one of our tournaments. The Svenska CS-ligan, SCSL, the qualifier for the domestic online qualifier for the Elisa Nordic Championship. That's where they sort of start to appear. So they start off by beating Lil Mix comfortably in a best of one. They then go to take a map off of Medisport and take a map off of Viperio to just narrowly miss out on qualifying for this LAN event, or a chance at qualifying for this LAN event. It was a really impressive event, and it was an extremely impressive event for Mines. He finished the event at a 120 rating in 6 maps. He then plays a couple of stand-in maps for Johnny Speeds after that. It's looking really fucking solid for this kid. But it doesn't work out. What basically happens there with Johnny Speeds is that the story was that he couldn't keep playing with the team because he was going to go to high school, and the team didn't want to do part-time. They wanted him to either quit school, play with us, or just don't play with us. So that's why they didn't end up signing Mines. So he keeps playing with Northern Lights, and they show up in some European competitions. And at this point, people are talking about Northern Lights. They don't really have a stable lineup. There's a lot of players coming in and out, but people are talking about them in a way that, in Sweden, people used to talk about like Fight Club and these kind of teams were like, okay, new names, new solid names, doing solid both in domestic and international opposition. Like Flow Skola and Fight Club, the sort of orgless mixed teams where you would see Fuzi, Chazi, Nilo, and these players appear early on in their career. We're starting to talk about Northern Lights in the same way, as they're playing in United 21, they're playing in European Pro League. They did play the Exort series as well, but on non-HLTV covered games. Unranked events, basically. So everything is looking fine and dandy. That's where we're at. We get to this Wednesday, and Elitserien, the top flight, it's not really the top flight of Swedish domestic play. It's supposed to be like the elite series. It is basically the only recurring league which spans across the whole season. It's our ESEA equivalent, but domestic only, basically. And they together with Eastplay, who run the league as well as the server provider, issue that they have an ongoing investigation into a team with regard to match fixing. And they didn't say which one, but Eastplay put the bans, like the bans, the under investigation bans, publicly on their matchmaking site, so it was very easy to just go check. It turns out it's 5 players out of Northern Lights. And I was in a voice call with somebody I know while this is happening, somebody who is or used to be a professional player in Sweden, and I just happened to be talking to them about something else, and then they just say, go check Twitter. Holy shit, big news. Northern Lights are under investigation for match fixing. What the fuck? Starts talking a fucking rumor mill. Within an hour, I had heard accusations levied at every single 5 of the players. I'd also heard every single 5 of the players, somebody said, oh, they're definitely innocent. Like, that's how big the fucking rumor, like, who's involved, we have no idea. They have 48 hours to give their own version to Elitserien. And after 48 hours, the official verdict is issued. All 5 players are banned. This is Mines, Axelén, Frank, Frigolito, and I always get these wrong because there's a bunch of Swedish players with different names. I'm just going to double check. Avoy, yes. Side note, we have Avoy, Ayo, Agis. Like, we have so many of these 4-letter A names. Anyway, Avoy is also banned. Axelian is banned permanently on the grounds of match fixing and cheating, while Mines is banned permanently, officially only on the grounds of match fixing, but I'll get to that. And the rest get a 1-year ban for match fixing. And this whole story breaks out, and holy shit, there's so much stuff flying because Frank, I'll just say I think he's a dumbass, but he just says everything. He posts on Twitter after the bans come out. If you want to know anything about my involvement, just ask. And people start asking questions. He replies, and it's like, how much money did you earn? He sends a screenshot of the crypto payment of $700. Wow, and then like, did you cheat?
$700.
Oh yeah, I had access. See, yeah, that's yeah.
Worth it.
Look, okay, I've heard there's more money involved than those $700 in total. They're not millionaires, you know. It's not on that level. It's very much a waste. It would have been anyway, but yeah. It's like people are asking him like, oh yeah, did you know that your teammates were match fixing? Oh yeah, I knew, I was in on it. He posts publicly on Twitter. It's like, did you cheat? Oh yeah, I had access to the radar. Yeah, I had access to it. We used it in games. Oh, okay, which games did you cheat in? I was in United 21, it was an X-Sword series, and yeah, that was about it. Just fucking goes full ham. A lot of these are deleted now. He then goes live for like half an hour on Twitch. Where people just ask him questions on Twitch, and he's like, "Yeah, all 5 of us knew about it. Yeah, it was really dumb, but you know, we got money for it." Like, he just goes off the rails. It's insane. And yeah, that's basically where the story ends. Mines is now permanently banned from Eastplay and Elitserien, and being banned from Eastplay means you're banned from most domestic competition. Since these days most Swedish competition is hosted on Eastplay, he's permanently banned off there. Acros then come out and mirror the permanent bans against Axelian and Mines. He's also permanently Acros banned. This guy is gone from Counter-Strike. He is never going to play professional Counter-Strike again. And that's fucking, it's Joel all over again. It is fucking Joel all over again. And it's such a waste. Because this guy played LANs. This guy, like, when he was playing with Johnny Speeds, Draken comes out in an interview afterwards and says, yeah, Mines, it's a shame we couldn't sign him because he's legitimately more talented than Male09. Verbatim. That's what he said. Like, it's such a waste. It's such a shame because this kid is 16 as well. This, as far as I understand, this could have started when he was 15 years old. Like, holy shit, getting roped into that shit at 15 years old is just fucking tragic. And fucking hell. And it was one of those like news items where like I just started texting everybody I know, and it's like, did you hear? And it's like, it's one of those things. And yeah, fucking hell. That's about it. That's the story. Mines is never again playing professional Counter-Strike. Axelian, look, Axelian wasn't bad either. Axelian was a solid player. He was by no means like weighing the team down, obviously, because he was using radar cheats, but he was by no means like, even as far as I understand it, they didn't use it constantly. By their own admission, they only used it in these 2 competitions, and they only used it like in games where they felt that they couldn't win, but they needed to win, so they could bet on themselves. He's played solid for most of his career, so fucking yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame that they do this. Really stupid. And I know some other stuff. I can't say that, but like, yeah.
Yes, you can. Say it. Say it.
I can't.
Everyone in chat, bully him. Say it. Say it. Say it. Say it.
What I
say
thought was honestly the worst thing is that Frank goes out and uses this all as another attempt to grab attention, as he always does. This guy is just, I do not like him. He is an absolute dickhead. He will do gambling streams where he'll sit and play on a casino for 30 minutes, like gambling away $2,000 in 30 minutes, just for the sake of that. It gets him a lot of views, funny clips. He will like deliberately be very offensive towards people in the scene just to get attention. At one point, he was casting one of these Elitserien games a couple of years ago. He left the studio halfway through the map. And another time he did it while drunk. He showed up to cast while drunk. This guy, and the fact that he uses this incident to just further himself and just like, oh, hey, look at me. Fucking disgusting. The fact that, I also heard that a lot of these players were like, even after the jig is up, they're still lying about all of this. And they're still like, I have no idea what's going on. This is so insane. This is so unfair. And it's like, okay, just, the jig is up. Just stay fucking quiet, man. Just quietly disappear. So, yeah. Fuck this, man. It was one hell of a news day.
It was indeed. Yeah, when that came out, I was pretty baffled. I'd never watched a Mines POV that was particularly sus, is the problem as well. I'd watched some POVs that were kind of nuts in terms of his aim and adjustments and stuff. But in terms of being magically aware of things, I never really spotted it. To be fair, I hadn't ground his demos down. Like, I'd watched like 3 over the course of, we're talking maybe a year. Honestly, it's been a while, like a long time. Like when he popped up as a stand-in on certain teams, or Northern Lights played a particularly impressive quali, and I was like, oh, who's this random child in Sweden? Are they good?
Yeah.
I'd seen little flashes. I hadn't really seen a whole lot more. So I don't. If there are clips out there that people are like, oh, you should have seen this and this and this, from when he's obviously using something. Yeah, that'd be a shame because the aim looks great. The time on Johnny Speeds is great. So. What a waste. Yeah. As always, what a waste. Yes. Joel, what a waste. Like, so many wasted sweets.
Joel was such a waste. Stiko put a video out, demo reviewing Mines, where it was really interesting because he originally watched the games to see, like, how good is Mines? And it was going to be like a video for, like, look at this new kid out of Sweden, the next male 09, etc. Like, being talked about this. And while he was watching, he was like, actually, this is more sus than anything. So then the video turned into, like, it was basically done when the whole news broke. So it's I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm not a huge fan of using demo reviews to try to discern if somebody's radar cheating or not. Personally, the fact that Mines is literally a child also makes it a little bit uncomfortable for me, because it's like, even if it's never the purpose of it, demo reviews like this always end up with witch hunts. They always end up with a lot of community stuff. And Mines did something fucking horrible, which he now has to suffer the consequences for. I don't think one of those consequences should be like a weaponized community out to get him. And so for that reason, I didn't entirely like the fact that video exists. But fair credit to Stiko. He did it in the best way you can, and said exactly this, that like it shouldn't result in a witch hunt. Right? He is 16 years old. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the kind of thing where I'm like, that probably shouldn't be a lifetime ban. That's the one thing I have. That where it's like, people who are underage at the end of the day should be getting a second chance at some point. I don't think he should be unbanned at 18. Let's put it clearly and simply. That would be basically getting away with it, because I think he is 17 now, right? Like, he is
16. He was 15 earlier in the year.
Jesus.
He was 15. Oh wait, who?
Mines. I'm talking about Mines, obviously.
No, he was 15 earlier in the year, and he just turned 16. He is born in 2009.
So just turned 16. Yeah, I mean, no, unbanned at 18 still would be a bit short, but still, like, the fact that he can get a lifetime ban from something he was influenced into doing as a 15-year-old / at worst 16-year-old is dumb. We don't sentence minors to jail time for life for anything. Like, they can stab 100 people, they'll still get out at some point. Like, in most countries with some sort of actual legal system. So I do feel a bit weird about it being a lifetime ban from Counter-Strike. Definitely a dumb bozo thing to do, and we know at this point. They knew. There's no defending yourselves. Take the L and go play Valorant like everyone else.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it is. I think this is ESIC. ESIC is involved in this as well. They haven't actually done anything, but as far as I understand, they have access to the information, and whenever Ian gets a chance to look at the papers on his desk, then maybe he will eventually get to it. And ESEC normally don't do permanent bans. I think the recent match fixing bans, one of them was a lifetime ban, but I assume that was just particularly excessive. Some of the recent ones were 5-year bans, they've had 3-year bans, they've had 2-year bans, and I think that's more fair. It is the Across ban, which is gonna really, screw things for Mainz if he ever wants to come back. But I'm assuming you could also, like, if Isak come out and decide he gets a 3-year ban, if he then comes out and say Across, hey, I'm now unbanned by Isak, could I also get unbanned from Across? They might say, yeah, like they might, that appeal might work for them. So, but as it's, I don't think he is coming back. I think at this point, the way this all happened, I don't think he wants a second chance. I think he's done what he came here to do. In a way, like again, it's like he most definitely got roped into this. It's hard, got influenced into this. It's a conscious decision, but like it's definitely outside influence. In a way, preying on him. I'm 100% sure of that. But and for that, he should have a second chance at some point. But I can't imagine you would do this under any circumstance if you wanted or thought you could have a successful professional career, especially at that young, like that early in your career. And stupid stuff happens. Like this is why back bans are no longer permanent for majors. But in a lot of those cases, it's also just like, yeah, I installed a stupid thing, or like, yeah, I had a skin changer, etc., etc. And it's like, it's not. This is just by nature of what it is, a lot more nefarious. So I don't know if he wants to come back. A lot of these match fixes just straight up they realize that, like, either they realize their career is over, or it's like they might as well play. They realize that the bar I had for myself, I'm never going to meet it. I might as well exploit the rest of my time in the sport and try to get away with as much as I can. Some people do that. I know one of the Australian bans, which happened a couple of years ago. Somebody there got a 60-month ban, and I actually know somebody who at least they said they ran into them at a pub, and they asked them about it, like shortly after the bans came out. And this person was just like, yeah, I match fixed like hell. I made a couple of $100,000, and that was the point. I didn't want to play professionally anyway, and now I can just, there's no consequence for me other than that I can't play Pro CS anymore, and I didn't want to do that anyway, so it doesn't matter. And now they're just living off of those couple of $100,000 they made for match fixing. That's like, yeah. TLDR, what a fucking waste. Fucking hell.
Yes, what a waste. And we'll see what happens with that sort of ban adjustment if it is brought back into, I think, more realistic sort of lengths and terms, because that is a bit extreme. But yeah, that's the Northern Lights mess, the best way to put it. One real loss, and then the 4 guys I've never fucking heard of. But yeah, brings us into our next segment quite nicely, with more people being silly, being stupid, being goofy little goobers in all the worst ways. This is the segment with the intro you all know and love, so sing along as we go into Cock of the Week.
How the fuck do you sing along with the Cock of the Week intro? Can you give me that in notation, please?
Of course.
Today's Cock of the Week, like I prefaced, like I hinted at during the pre-show, is French. It is a French man. This man is named Nell. And very briefly, honestly, it's the same. Do we want RMRs back? And he's written an 8-minute read on Skin Club's community article thing, fucking kind of thing, about why he dislikes VRS and he wants RMRs to come back because of the excitement of the RMRs. I'm not gonna, sound like a broken record. This is the same as last week. We don't want RMRs back. The system is good. If you didn't think the fucking Philadelphia final was exciting, what the fuck? Like 100% it was. 100%. All of these lands that we had were exciting. It was super exciting watching, Fnatic qualify through Philadelphia. It was super exciting seeing, 9 sort of put themselves within a chance at making the major by winning Birch Cup. And we had all of these, like in Dracula, and how OG it was like, yeah, to make it through, you need to perform well in all of these lands. And they actually they do pretty well. Like they do win Dracula in season 2. And they show up to Philadelphia, and it's like, oh, we have these 4 teams. Oh, we're battling it out. All of 4 of these. Whoever wins makes the major. Holy shit, that's exciting. And we had all of this, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I'm thinking back to like the RMRs where we had almost these exact same teams having their major dreams sort of shattered by the fact they have to play Spirit in the deciding game. And it's like, okay. So if those games, so to me, always felt like a bit of a lose-lose situation where like you had either we get an exciting team we might not have seen before, really proving themselves to be in the major by beating a top 5 team in the world, while simultaneously not having a top 5 team in the major sucks. Or alternatively, the exciting storyline that we could have had in maybe a more fair qualification system just gets completely snuffed out by the fact that the top 5 team is obviously going to win that game. So I'm not going to address anything directly here in any else article. We've had a lot of fucking chatter about this week from
just
Carbon Dogma.
This damn thing. As Messioso correctly points out in the response, it's just wrong and uninteresting. Like, there's nothing new in this article.
Nope. Not at all. So, yeah, it's just yappity yap. And if you're gonna yap, do it like Carbon Dogma did. He put out an over an hour-long video in response to this article, which is like explaining where it's wrong, why it's wrong, why and this is a stupid take, and just the beauty of the system that we have, which is not perfect, but it fucking works. And it does a lot of things very well that the RMR or MRQ wasn't doing. So, yeah, fucking, I really hate this. From fairy tales to spreadsheets is just a really dumb subheading to me, where like we're looking like the way I interpret that is like
firstly, better headline. From Cinderellas to spreadsheets, because it's the sound alliteration, like, better. Secondly, you thought of this in the shower, didn't you? Like,
yeah. From fairy tales to spreadsheets, it's stupid because the implication there is like, oh, we don't get the excitement of major qualification because the only way we have to follow it is some random British guy from Birmingham posts spreadsheets every week. It's like, I mean, yeah. That's how we know exactly what's going on. And is it not exciting that Heroic fumbled a 97% chance of making the major? That 9 were 1 map away from coming back from a 0.2% chance of making the major. The fact that Fnatic made the major, coming back from a 2.8% chance. If you put these numbers in perspective, all of these numbers would be significantly less interesting if it was the RMR. Because you would have stuff like, if 9 made the major through the RMR, it would be like, yeah, no matter at every point during this RMR, they had at least a 15% of making the major, just because of that's how the format works. You know, they only have to play 3. They only have to win 3 games to make the major, etc., etc. Fucking yeah, no, it's stupid. I like VRS. I like this major cycle. And I also feel like, you know, I don't know if you saw the Onepixel clip where he was like, oh, we used to have, you know, excitement around the RMRs, and he's like, my boy
Why
Kvem.
would I have seen an Onepixel clip?
He basically said that, like, oh, my boy Kvem qualified for the major and I didn't even see it. And it's like, you weren't watching? That's what you're saying? You know, you could have. He was like, you know, he didn't see the exciting moment where like they qualified for the major. It's like, okay, so you didn't pay attention? That's okay? Yeah,
I
self-report.
Yeah,
but all right,
I saw it. Like, you know what I mean? Look, yeah. I do not get my CS takes and opinions out of Onepixel for obvious fucking reasons. Look, let's be clear. It's not one of the minds of CS. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
This from Nell is, it's drivel. It's not interesting. We'll move on from it, really, like, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
No big deal. But a cock regardless.
It's annoying that we constantly have to deal with these kinds of things now. Like, everyone's going to pop up. It's going to take about another week, I think, a week or two for people to be fully done with crying about it. So yeah, let's get into our next recurring segment. This one never will end. It is eternal, and it's gotten to the point where even the AI overview of our videos, as we found out, know it's going to happen. It's the eternal shuffle. Yes, Players are changing teams. Who have you got for me? Let's grade some.
We had 2 very weird moves. Very weird indeed this week, which caused a lot of discussion and controversy. The first one, I can actually semi-address this in chat. We're about to address it. Fnatic have cut Cypher and added Jacasmo. after being so impressed by Jacasmo in their qualifying run through Philadelphia. So yeah.
It's stupid.
So to answer the question in the chat as well, Cypher is on the main roster. He's still ranked on the invited roster. Jacasmo will be the sub. Cypher gets a sticker in the game. Jacasmo does not. Cypher gets that money. And I also saw Banks tweet that Cypher, they were like at the embassy at the same time to get the Chinese visa, apparently, Cypher and Banks. So Cypher, he can still play the major. Like if Fnatic, for whatever reason, after if they're playing CS Asia Championship or something, if they for whatever reason decide that they still want Cypher, then they can still switch it back before the major. They can still do that. But as it stands, he's not playing.
Yeah, so this is a shame, just quite simply. And it's weird as well, because this makes also no sense as far as what Jacasmo was doing, what Cypher was doing. Like, you brought Jacasmo in to fill in for Crims. He didn't play Cypher's roles, and Cypher filled in for Crims at Fragadelphia. So why on earth you're doing this it's just baffling. Like, why they would actually go for this is ridiculous. Like, I see no reason to make this move specifically. If you were actually that impressed with how Jacasmo played, you would just keep him and not bring and not let Crims come back. Like, you wouldn't bring him in for Cypher and change things up again. Now, could he in theory play Cypher's roles? I think it's possible. He played not too dissimilarly on Passion UA when they were with Jambo and all that. He was more of a star rifle. But this ain't it. This just ain't it. This is a crazy move from Fnatic that doesn't make any sense to me. Cypher, whilst he's not been Mattis, hasn't been bad for Fnatic. Like, he's not been a problem on Fnatic. They've just had some difficult periods with, the integration of Fear's style still as a caller not quite working. The fact they had to have Crim step away. I do think you can do better than what Cypher's been giving you. You had it before in Mattis, but that's a premium. That's a talent premium you'd be paying there. That's a difficult thing to find. Given what Cypher had been for this roster, dependable, a player who in the past has stepped up at big events with teams, I definitely think they should have stuck it out with him. And if they were that desperate to sign Jacasmo, sign him for Crims, I don't know whose idea this was, but it's not a good one. And yeah, I'm not happy. Could it end up working? Maybe. I don't want it to, though. Quite simply.
Yeah, it would make sense a lot more if you brought... Jacasmo's really good to start with. And this is sort of the preface that a lot of people criticizing this move had, is like, this is not a problem with Jacasmo. He's a good player. Just would have fit a lot better if you wanted him in. You could have cut Crims. And I also, honestly, at that point, maybe I wouldn't have been all that happy either, because Crims has kind of stepped up in this fall season so far. He's kind of played pretty good. So would that have been the perfect move either? Maybe not, but yeah. I will note the two best events for Cypher on Fnatic was Blast Open London, the online group stage, which they played while they were playing a LAN event in Romania at the same time, which they won. And also Fragadelphia, where they qualified for the major. But if you're going by, like, that was his second highest KPR at any of the events he played. Really solid, like, really solid. And look, Cypher's not perfect. He's definitely not replacing Mattis. We already knew this. I don't think it was a necessary move to make. I think the way in which they made it, like, if you're going off, I saw Cypher's partner posted a lot about this, quite angrily, naturally. So there's, like, they posted about this where it's like, they didn't even tell him, like, why he was benched. They didn't even tell him any of this stuff, where it's like, he just got benched randomly a couple of days after qualifying for the major, helping Fnatic qualify for the major. And it's like, it just feels so weird. And yeah, it's also slightly funny considering 3 days earlier he tweeted, "Somebody please pick up Jacasmo. He's such a good player." He tweeted that, and then he's the guy who gets replaced in the team picking up Jacasmo. So yeah, I don't know. Super weird, really.
Yeah, a strange one, but just frustrating,
the reason
I guess. At least he gets his money, right? At least he gets his sticker money. Everyone buy Cypher stickers.
The reason why I'm saying Cypher, why I'm still saying this with like the visa, the Chinese visa, etc., is because the way they worded the announcement is kind of weird. They said Jacasmo joins the roster on loan until the end of the season, stepping in for Cypher for the duration of the tournament. And they previously in the announcement they mentioned the CS Asia Championship. So, it's implying that that Jacasmo would play stand-in the CS Asia Championship rather than. I don't know. It's implying that like maybe they're open to the fact that they want to try Jacasmo and then put Cypher back in. But then it's super weird. I found what his partner wrote. They wrote Fnatic : let's bring in Cypher to help us qualify for a major because we haven't in almost 2 years. It's not true. They played in Shanghai. But anyway, brings in Cypher and he does it in 3 months. Fnatic : let's now replace Cypher before the major and give him no reason why, because that makes sense. So like it's a super short notice, no reason why. Like what the fuck? It doesn't make any sense for me.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
And I think NeoK worded it really well. How can you not dislike Fnatic right now?
Yeah, it's a shitty move. It's a really shitty move, just in terms of treating a player, and in terms of the Counter-Strike played, pretty weak basis on which to go.
Yeah.
So, terrible.
Terrible moves. Speaking of those, Big have finally completed the transfer, which has been long rumored, involving players such as Grix and Jame, and grand visions of Tabson giving up the IGL role. And all of this has come true, except for one thing. Big have cut Hyped. Rejoice. They've added Grix. Rejoice.
Yeah, pretty good.
Tabson is off the IGL. Rejoice. Crimbo is out. The fuck? In a way, rejoice. And they've added Freeze, who is the new IGL. The 27-year-old alternate attacks mainstay and brief Big Academy member. And most recently, I think he was Big Academy's assistant coach. This is what we're talking about. They've added their Academy team's assistant coach into the playing roster.
This is mind-bogglingly terrible. All the credit you get for Grix coming in place of Hyped, you instantly throw out the window and then negate even further by making this change. You're keeping Tabson. You're bringing in Freeze to call, and you're losing Crimbo. Like this is terrible. This is dreadful. And the only way this can make any sense is if Crimbo was bought by someone else. If you're selling Crimbo to someone, fine. Freeze is a temporary fix. Otherwise, literally a hate crime.
The way I understand it, the way they've said it as well, it's a joint decision between Crimbo and them. That can always mean a lot of things. MIBR have made a lot of joint decisions with their players as well. But in this case, based on how Crimbo plays and how Big have played, I would think that this is Crimbo saying, fuck out of here. I don't want to be hard stuck in this team anymore.
Right as
Bench me,
Grix
please.
joins, that's weird. But yeah.
It is weird, but like at some point, it's gotta be over, I guess. It's very weird. Greg's a fine move, but he's also they're switching to English here. It's a 4+1. I don't like 4+1s. In this regard, Greg's obviously he already played in English. He played in Heroic, and from what I've heard, that was fine. But the rest of the team are also switching from German to English again, which again, like they probably can all speak English, but it is a difference, and it's an adjustment period when your entire team structure, the way you play Counter-Strike, is based on playing in German, going to speaking English instead. But then again, you're also switching the fucking caller, so maybe the existing system doesn't matter whatsoever. Where do you want Crimbo to end up? As the follow-up question. In a world where he is available at a reasonable price, where do you want him to be? Say after the major.
Honestly, it wouldn't have been a terrible idea to have him in place of Crims on Fnatic. That's one place I immediately thought of. Otherwise, who needs a slightly more passive closing presence? Let's see, outside the top 10, probably want to go down there. I guess if you switched up the way Game Legion play to bring the AWP more to the forefront of the actual like style, and you had a true hard lurk rather than very active riflers across the map in the way they do it, I could see him coming in for like res. You know, obviously it doesn't sound like that appealing of a move right now, talking about cutting res, given the year he's had, but he's also not as important as PR to me. So maybe you move him into Towson roles and then bring someone else in, you know, something like that. Didn't have to cut res, that's just an example, necessarily.
Yeah.
But that's the way I'm thinking about it. I know there's probably a number of teams that speak English that could do with trying it. Sorry, just punched my mic. Apologies to all your ears. Yeah, no, you can try him. Hell, if you get tired of Youngster, bring him in on Heroic. I know you hate that move. Take it and suck
Bad
it.
exclamation point.
No, I mean, look, you can end up in a number of places. You could even end up on. Hell, you could maybe try him on an OG. You know, bring him in for maybe Arrows Dosh. I don't think it's the worst idea.
I like that.
Like he does clutch on this team quite aggressively. Like, try that out. Yeah, he's got the same profiling numbers. Bring him for Arrows Dosh on OG. I'd like that. So yeah, there's a few places I think he could end up, but we'll have to see. Maybe he ends up on a mixed team with Cypher. Who knows? Maybe he ends up on Kona.
Fish 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Oh, I would like that. Bird from Sky would turn Grimbo into a $1 million signing. Speaking of Youngster, Heroic, for some reason, can't play with Alcaran in China. I assume Visa. And they're playing with Hades instead. This is not a proper shuffle, but for the next couple of games, we're going to be watching Heroic play with Hades instead of Alcaran.
Probably will end up as one.
Actually, sorry. What was the grade for Big?
They combined to like a D, I guess.
Oh, right, generous, right? Yep.
Well, one's basically an A, like, you know, one's basically an A grade, and the other one's basically an F grade, and I'm like, which one do I hate more or love more? I'm like, okay, give him a D.
Yeah, solid. It might turn into a shuffle. This was a funny thing, which I think Harumi posted on his Telegram, which I sent to you. He said, Sunpayas to Grix to Alcaran to Hades. What's next? Chris 2? And I guess he watches Retake the Week. Spreading the propaganda that Chris 2. Yeah. But
the problem is the analogy doesn't quite work because you're going up from Alcaran to Hades. I'm not a Delulu like CIS shill. Alcaran's not that good. So there is a bit of a problem, but it is funny.
Yep. How do you think this will work? Do you think Hero will get better?
Yeah, I do think they will slightly better. It's not going to be a huge change. He's not a god. He's not going to drag them into like some other stratosphere, but I think he is better than Alcaran in terms of especially consistency map to map.
In the next two games that they play, they have to beat one out of these three teams to survive. Bait, FaZe, or Foot. Do you think they can do that?
Yeah.
With Hades?
I think they can beat Foot and Bait. Like, there's a lower chance they can beat them. But if you had to tell me that to beat one of those two, I'll give you like 65% chance they beat at least one of those two.
Yep, right. Solid. That's about it. Also at this event, Virtus Pro. Maybe there's a pattern with Kazakhstani players having visa issues, but Virtus Pro's only Kazakhstani player, Icy, is also out for this event. I don't think they said it was visa issues, but they are trialing Bist in the op position for Virtus Pro. And there was a brief discussion around can VP really play with this, because the invited team needs to have Icy, Electronic, Flamus, Perfecto, Fame. 3 out of those. So now you've already cut 3 of them. Could you really do it? Turns out you can accept the invite with IC on the roster and then just sub him out, and that's fine.
I mean, one sub things have always been a part of the way we work, isn't it? Like, you know, you get an invite, you make one sub, you know, it's not that crazy.
But that was the misconception about that I had about ESL Pro League. So actually, Asylum, there was misinformation in the last episode, but you didn't know it either. The ESL Pro League thing with FaZe had nothing to do with VRS. The VRS perfectly allowed Twists to play in FaZe roster without rain. the thing they broke was ESL's own substitution rules. So, and this event has none of those. You can do whatever. It's the Wild fucking West. You could probably, in the eyes of the Lord, I was going to say, in the eyes of the Chinese Asia Championship, you could probably sub out every single player for somebody else, and be fine. You could accept the invite, and on your assuming they allow 5 substitutes to exist, you can accept the invite with Flit, Perfecto, IC, and whoever the fuck else is on Virtus Pro, and then sub in the entire academy team, and that would still work, and you could still play the event. So yeah,
Wild.
Anyway, do you like Bist?
Yeah, I think Bist's pretty sharp. Like, really quick. That's the attraction, basically. It's just his insane shot speed and flick rate. Like, he goes boom and hits a shot. Like, he shoots like KnS. Like, when KnS was on it, that's kind of how KnS shot. That's roughly how Bist shoots, and it works a decent amount of the time. Like, he's a pretty sharp guy. Much more interesting to me than IC ever was, so yeah. Hopefully it works out. Hopefully he plays fantastically, and either they promote him full-time or shift him over to a different team who pays a silly buyout.
Yep. Solid. Minor note, 9 have made the Modo move official, but I'm pretty sure even if it's official, it's still just like a small loan of $1 million. I was going to say it's still just like a small thing, where like it's a loan to the end of the season or something from. I guess he's still on OG's payroll. So, yeah, short-term contract, supposedly.
Look, it's worked. That's what I can say. You know, it's worked, and that's not really that much to do with Modo. I don't feel like I don't think he's been that crazy in the games he's played with the team, but he's been fairly solid. Whilst playing with them, and you know that's all you need really out of the AWPA on this team. Trying to figure out where exactly his 9 tenure begins in terms of the numbers, but he's a 109, which, you know, you'll take. I mean, they don't exactly play god-tier opponents, but he had a fantastic Birch, couple things considered, you know, a 113. Sure, the team, again, as we said, won off the back of Farven primarily, being the superstar, but he wasn't a detracting piece. He wasn't Fuzi, but he was fine, and I think that's enough for them to settle here, take him on, and yeah, keep building.
I think the fact that he isn't Fuzi is the reason he's on a short-term contract. I would possibly imagine. Wopa have added a player who is named Quez.
Quez.
So the full lineup, the full lineup is Tham, Like, Patty, Quez, Xanto, and Skodo, with Boychild as a coach.
So anyone who watched the pre-show, members will remember. I did kind of roast Quack for trying to remove a roster move, for saying the team was irrelevant. This made it in no question, no conversation, no debate.
Because you talk about Wopa sometimes. We have not mentioned Unity a single time.
I don't talk about these people anymore. They're dead, they're terrible.
We haven't talked about United since... See, the next move, the move that I was questioning is Unity, because we haven't talked about them since the Shanghai RMR. Wopa we talk about once a month. At least when Slime was there, we did.
Danish player, and then you go, let's put it in Retake the Week. Oh, look, a random Danish player. They're bad. They're bad.
All right.
That's just bad. I think the Unity move is far more interesting than this. I think the roster just got kind of good.
Do you like Quest?
No. I haven't since ever. Like, since Sashi days. Like, I wasn't a big fan then.
All right. What do you think, Patty? Can Patty work with him and turn this into a contender team?
Probably not.
Oh, well, can't say we are not truthful on this show. Unity have added Mikey.
It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, Mikey's pretty good.
Like, Mikey's been kind of dumpstering. He's in the Players of the Week for like most ADR, most not round swing, like a highest multi-kill rating, like eco adjusted. Like he's just a fragger, and that's what they've signed him to be. Now it's interesting to see how it'll work between Mikey and Neofrag on this team. Yeah, Shubs, if you look at the picture, they basically did. I've been interested in this Unity roster for a while because, you know, Neofrag is one of his more recent like chances to do something. You know, ever since he said the gamer word and got removed from a project in like 72 hours. and he's played okay. They've had some decent results. And Woozy, I was like, ooh, maybe a young Orpa. Hasn't really shined the way I'd hoped he would. But he's only 19, and the last 3 months have been a lot stronger. So, no, I am actually interested in this Unity roster. And of course, they played recently the Slovak National Championship, where they didn't do well. But they've added Mikey now to the roster. I've got a good feeling this team will be at least interesting to watch. They're not high ranked, but this is a fairly talented Czechoslovak roster.
Yeah, sure. I'm not in the slightest interested in this team, not even in a retake.
I know. Sorry. Let's replace some of their names. So Woozy is named Russell Alievson. And now, oh my God, Quack has to talk about him. He's now
Who the
Swedish.
fuck is Russell Alievson?
So use your very high IQ. Take the guy's real name, add Sun to the end, and change the first name from being clearly not Swedish to something else. And I'm making them Swedish. So Neofrag is actually Adam Zuharsson. There we go. Mikey is now called Jacob, or Jakub, but spelt differently, Krausen. There we go. Quack, your favorite team. Just change their names to Swedish names. Imagine the flag is Swedish. Your favorite roster. You'll never watch anyone else play. There you go.
Do you know, okay, Morisco, I would say I like Morisco. And I like him just because he did that Mike Tyson meme at the major with a vicious win. And then he walks away, butt cheeks hanging out. That was very funny. You don't remember that? You don't remember the Mike Tyson fight? Mike Tyson fight where they asked him, how's it going to go? And he says, vicious win. And then, they dap each other up. And then he turns around and walks away, and his fucking ass cheeks are hanging out because he's wearing some fucking he's wearing some fucking boxing thing. And then, at the major, at the RMR where Sinners played, or Eklot or wherever it was, they did the same thing with Morisco. They asked him, how's it gonna go? And Morisco said, vicious win. And then, they dap each other up, and he walks out, and he's got his fucking, wearing a fucking thong and just going off. All right. Yeah. I guess Mikey's a good player. It just feels super fluky how the fact that I just realized when I saw it on the shuffle list, I was like, okay, they have under no point, like in no point since the Shanghai RMR has this team appeared on our radar for any reason.
Yeah, because they were from the Shanghai RMR ripped to pieces and then reformed. Like it's just a different team.
Yeah, I guess. That was it. That was the shuffles. I don't think, unless anything has happened while we're doing the show, it's going to happen in an hour in that case. So, meh.
Yeah, no. We'll see who gets changed in an hour. That's correct. That is always what we always what we do. It happens
every time. Every time. We talk about when is Y going to join Spirit? It happens an hour after we go off the air. When is Kyosuke going to join Falcons? It happened an hour after we went off the air. Always 4 p.m. on Mondays, and I'm 100% sure that's because everybody watches our show. Thank you so much for doing that, all of the team managers in the world.
Yes, thank you for watching the show. And that's how we know we secretly make every roster move. Like, if we talked about it, it probably happened, because they're the ones listening. They know we know ball. But yeah, let's get into the final segment of the show. It's time for Prospect of the Week. Quacke, who have you picked? Tell me about this wonderful Swede.
It's not a Swede. It is Kyosa. ESL Impact player. Big Equipa are so fucking good right now, where I'm 100% sure we're going to see them in the semifinal at least of the ESL Pro League, which is amazing because this is a really cool lineup.
ESL Pro League, Impact.
ESL Impact, yes.
God. That'd be funny though.
Freudian slip. Now you see my true motivations. how I want the scene to look. Astra, Viku, Hanka, Kyosa, Emsan, and Kyosa was great. And they're noteworthy this week because they have, in my opinion, finally put to rest the notion that Imperial Valkyries are the best or anywhere near the best women's team at the moment, because they fucking dumpstered them in the group stage. This is based on how this group looks. This game, this Big Equipa Imperial Valkyries game, was probably the game for the group stage win, which means you go straight to playoffs. You don't have to play the play-in. I mean, look, there's a chance over Peak maybe can squeeze by, but I don't see that happening with Peekaboo personally, and even over Peak I don't think are that strong. So for my money, Big Keep have most likely secured the group stage win here and the playoff spot in ESL Impact with this win. It was a 13-5 times 2, both maps 13-5. And Kiosa, like Astra was huge in this game. It was honestly a very big team effort. Like there's nobody here. Like they're all within 5 frags of each other across these 4 maps. But Kiosa especially played really solid, and she is a pretty big like prospect in the women's scene. 21, especially for like the Impact scene right now. 21 is very young, and she's already very experienced as well because she's been around for, it's coming up on gonna be 2 years. It's over 2 years already even. And yeah, very solid prospect. And like with this sort of dethroning of the old champions, it's cool to see somebody who might be that next sort of 23, or that next sort of whoever else they had, Kat, I guess Tori before she became an IGL, but like, you know, that next sort of champion player. And Kiosa could definitely be that. I think he's going to be that. She's had a bit of ups and downs in her career, but this week was excellent, and it's an excellent win. And let's go Big Keep up.
Yeah, no, Kiosa's a player we've talked about a lot when it comes to Impact. You know, a star rifle out of a variety of roles over the sort of last 2 years. Yeah, one we've always kept our eye on. One of the reasons we said Big Keep rather, were one of the more dangerous teams. You know, is, you know, when she joined, it's like, damn, they've added her on top of everything else they had, and then, you know, they keep assembling all these other talents. And yeah, Kiosa, sorry, almost went there again. A fantastic player, great week, and yeah, definitely one to watch in the Impact scene. Myself, Parivision, they went and won some event whose name eludes me. Galaxy Battle Phase 4, of course, how could I have forgotten? After winning Landerland, but that wasn't this week. They finished it off with a 3-0 over Inner Circle, didn't drop a map on their run through. And look, they're talented top to bottom, you know, 1 through 5. They got good players. But my guy, Nota, former prospect, led the way, topped the rating charts. And I'm really glad to see him having that kind of event. I mean, it's also nice to see AW actually play really well. Cielo, take a back seat. Belchnok, who are you? Finally, some of these players that we've been a bit more neglected, just in terms of our excitement and our praise and our adulation, step forward and take the spotlight, really. So yeah, Nota, dominant on the CT sides, did absolutely everything right against every opponent they played. T side basically just entried, but whatever. Just died for the cause on the T side. But CT side, run rampant, 1.72 rating, 35.8% multi-kill rate. Dumb. Nota still got so much more to show us. He's still only 18. Him and his twin are players to watch in the Russian scene. And yeah, can't wait to watch him play with Parivision in the coming events.
Yep. This is also a solid event for Parivision because there's really nothing up until the final. Everything is sort of par for the course because they make quick work out of 5-bet. They make quick work out of Gun 5. Weaker teams, 2-0s, single digits, all day long. Gentle Mate's more of a 50-50 game. These are both the teams that were fighting for that final major spot. And it's closer. It's a double digits map, but it's still a 2-0 win. And then this grand final where they 3-0 Inner Circle, that's really solid, and especially for Nota. That's where I feel like even if Parivision are in the major and Inner Circle are not, that's where I feel like they're punching upwards, kind of. That's where I feel like they're taking down. It's not quite an upset, but to do it in this 3-0 fashion with a 13-2 on Mirage, that's it's more than I expected, to be honest. So that's good, very good. And Nota as well, especially in the grand final, put up a really solid stat line.
Yeah,
so
on the CT side, it's so funny. If you just look at the T-CT splits for him in all these games, at the grand final on the T side, he's 9-23, 0.58 rated.
Holy
CT,
shit,
though,
dude, yeah.
he's 43-13. Like, it's absurd.
He's 9-23 in 3 maps. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's with almost 60 ADR as well. Yeah.
He's just a hard entry. Like, he's just dying. That's all he does for the team on T side in this sort of run. But CT side, rampaging. Absolutely rampant. And that's awesome. So yeah, that's the show. The Big QnA did take a big hour of our runtime, so that is why the show is so long this week. That's usually not going to be the case. But yeah, thanks for everyone who submitted a question. Thanks for everyone who tuned in live. And anyone who's watching on the VOD who made it this far, please tell us why you believe that Freeze will lead Big to a major win. Tell us about his tactics, his ideas, maybe his hairstyle.
See, okay.
Do something.
Let me stop you right here. You always go for these where like they're supposed to describe something so outlandish that you can't even put it into words. Like you always go for explain why Fifth Lauren is the true MVP of the Cologne Major.